Welcome back to the Comics Aficionados, live right here on Thinking Critical YouTube. Hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. And we got a great panel to talk about all the happenings within comic books. We got some pop culture stuff as well. And we are counting down the final days of Unholy Nightmare with Drew, a.k.a. Dolan. How you doing, Drew?
Doing great, Wes. Yeah, we got a few days left. I think about 5 days left. We're still getting close to 6K, but we're doing a special this weekend through Monday. You can buy any Trader Virgin cover for $10 off, $30. Trade any Trader Virgin cover, knock off $10. Total price of $30.
Very nice. Do they need a code or anything, or is it just it's going to be available on Kickstarter?
It's available on Kickstarter right now through Monday at midnight.
Very nice. Should we play the trailer, Drew?
Sure, absolutely.
Let's do it. Let's watch this bad boy.
The dark streets of Chicago. A mysterious masked hero fights against the forces of evil. He is the Recluse, and as a secret ally, a cop who goes undercover in the criminal underworld. Together, they face a deadly new threat, a drug that turns humans into monstrous creatures. As they try to stop the drug trade, they discover a hidden realm of horrors that will test their courage and loyalty. Will they survive?
The Unholy Nightmare.
From the creators of the hit comic book series Born of Blood, R. Elio Mazzara and Dolan Wadding, comes a new action-packed adventure that will take you to the edge of your seat. Enter a world where superheroes and monsters collide, and nothing is what it seems. Don't miss Unholy Nightmare, the comic book event of the year.
So very nice. So Drew, if we get to issue number 2 and you're fully funded right now, Aaron Sparrow is coming aboard the team?
Absolutely. That's the plan.
I will be there.
Oh my goodness. Your audio already went out, Aaron.
I'm not switching out. This is just how it's going to be. I'm defiant now.
Oh my goodness. Hopefully they didn't kick you out this time.
No, it's weird. Like the last time we were recording, every time I'd do the fix, which is, like you just skip back out and come back in, it would also kick me out. And so Wes has to like carry the show. Like he has to talk, he has to stretch his sentence out until I pop back in.
Because it's a podcast, so no one can see it. So we try to hide it. That way I don't have to edit the crap out of it.
Yep. Save you some time.
So you're coming aboard on Unholy Nightmare, Aaron. You got big plans for issue 2?
Yeah, I'm excited about it. Drew just sent me the draft I saw, and so I'm excited to dig in and read it and give him back some notes, and we'll get this baby going. There's a whole series planned, a whole big story. The first issue is great. Every time I see that trailer, though, I go, "Am I have been saying Relio's name wrong this whole time?"
No. The monster says it wrong. You've worked with him before. You obviously were editing Born of Blood as well.
Yeah, but I'm like, does he pronounce his last name Mazzara? I've always said Mazzara.
Is that correct, Drew?
Aurelio has not said anything to me about it's mispronounced, so I'm guessing he's used to it by now that people are just going to pronounce it however they want. He would have said something, but he's fine with it.
He's so nice, though. Aurelio's such a nice guy and such a fantastic artist, as you can see from the trailer. If you guys liked Nightwing, like back in the day, his art on this book really reminds me of like Scott McDaniel on Nightwing. So if you liked that, I really think that you guys will dig the art. And Drew's crafted a really great story with him, and it's just a fun book. Back when you could enjoy comic books and there wasn't a bunch of nonsense shoved in there that made you go, oh geez. Drew, I'm telling you, Drew is getting no therapy out of this comic book. He's not pulling a Tom King. He's not putting all of all the things that he's got to work through on the page. It's just a good, solid story that's a lot of fun.
So, Aaron, you had double duty planned for Thanksgiving. Did you end up making to do 2 dinners, and did you have room for it?
No, actually, we only did one this year. My aunt, who is a fantastic cook, decided to take the year off. There were just some family members that couldn't make it, and so it was going to be a really small affair. So she was like, "Yeah, what if I just relaxed this year?" And we were like, "You know what? You deserve it. Relax." So we just went to my friend Marie's sister's, who's also a great cook. Had a great Thanksgiving, and then I came home and passed out at like 8:00. And slept like a Snorlax through to the next day.
And this is the aunt the doc was creeping on.
Doc was not creeping on my aunt.
I was not creeping on his aunt.
But just so people know, Doc came out and through like a weird, some weird timing and things like that, and me misunderstanding when Doc was going to be available. I was hanging out with my aunt, and Doc's like, "I'm ready," and I was like, "Oh, okay." I was going to have dinner with my aunt. Do you want to just come have dinner with us? And so Doc came down, had dinner with my aunt. And then she invited us, she said, instead of us hanging out at a bar and talking, why don't we just, come over and hang out in the backyard by the pool? And so we did. And MVP came over and we had a really nice time. And she sat there and she listened to us talk about comics and listened to us nerd out. So she got a little bit of a geekication there.
Yeah, she was like the dude on Revenge of the Nerds, like, nerds. We've also got a special guest. We do have returning to the channel, Jim Mint. How you doing, buddy?
What's going on, Wes? Thanks for having me back.
Well, I'm glad you could make it. You have quite the setup there. That looks like an amazing arcade, and that's not all your machines.
Yeah, we're in the arcade. I have the 4-player ones out there in the main room. Drew can tell you he was out here. What was it? A couple of days ago.
Yeah.
And well, first of all, shout out to everybody in the chat that's saying what's up. I tried to comment, but it didn't let me. But yeah, man, it's kind of funny how this all worked out because I reached out to you. I think it was before I even asked Drew to come do the podcast that we did. I just released it, I think yesterday it was. And then he is here as well. It's like, holy shit. I really wanted to come on here, Wes, to give you your props, man, because a lot of the stuff that you've been talking about for years when it was an unpopular opinion seems to be the popular opinion now and everybody jumping on board with it. And, it took guts to be one of the people who spoke out against it back in the day. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to come on here, give you your props, and obviously talk with you guys for however long.
Well, I do appreciate it. It's not fun being the bearer of bad news and then it comes out that you were right. But I don't know, the writing's been kind of on the wall that things are trending down. But there's a lot of people out there who would like us to ignore it, but it seems like nobody can ignore it anymore, man.
Yeah.
One day, even Heidi McDonald may be forced to admit it.
Ha! That woman.
You get 4 paragraphs about what an asshole I am, and then she'll admit I was right.
That woman is the dictionary definition of cognitive dissonance.
It's every time I see her talking about the state of the comic book industry or writing an article, I'm just reminded of Baghdad Bob from the Iraq War. The Iraqi information minister that would come out and be like, the Americans are not here. They're not worth a shoe. And he's standing on a building top. And if you look in the background, you can see the line of American tanks.
Yeah.
That's a great one. It's a classic moment. There are no Americans in Baghdad.
We'll just call her Backboard Bob.
Oh, there you go.
Terrible people.
That was terrible.
Why do I even know these guys?
Bunch of degenerates we are.
Absolutely. So Jim, you're still going out, you're still doing the geek content, still reviewing comics, doing the manga stuff, and doing all the big statue reviews.
So I have fell back off of the weekly comics for a combination of reasons, but I fell back off of that. Even the statues have slowed down a little bit, but still doing the omnibus stuff, still just being creative and trying to put out content.
Yeah, it's a tough road in geek culture right now because certain things just aren't hot right now.
Yeah,
yeah.
And I think a lot of it's gonna come into play when we talk about this Tom King thing because I don't want to even spoil it, but moves that are made at the movie level, at the modern comic book level, affect things at the collector level. And when you have an influx of people that came in during the pandemic. A lot of them came in like, oh, yeah, I used to love this shit. And then they're like, wait a minute, what's going on? Man, I'm out of here. You know what I mean? So as soon as everybody, went back to work and, got out the house, we lost a lot of people that were that we gained during that time when everybody was home, catching up on shit they used to like as kids or what have you.
Yeah, unfortunately, it probably only took you a few months to get through all the good stuff for the last 10 years in comic books, at least.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, I would like to catch up on some of the new stuff. I'll probably wait for the hardcovers. I'm more of like a collected edition guy, but yeah.
We'll see what happens with that. We've also got Gabe from Comical Opinions and Weird Science, the reviewer extraordinaire. You didn't want to review Batman Offworld this week because you said Hawkgirl was a bigger book.
No, that's not what I said.
That was what you told me. That was
It is.
Story.
No, that is a lie, and I will go to my grave saying that it's one of these things where I'm already reviewing more than enough Batman. I said that one I'll give it a pass on, and Jim wrote the review. It's fine. Actually, I think it's probably one of the better DC books this week. It's just there's already too much Batman on my plate, and I said enough's enough, and people just want to know. People just want to know about Hawkgirl, right, wrong, or different. They just want to know. So that's how that turns out. So what's going on? Reviews. Putting more effort into the Comical Opinions YouTube channel. So if you're not following along, please give us a sub. Watch some of our videos. The one that I put out last week about saying goodbye to Marvel and DC, that one seems to have gotten a lot of resonated with a lot of people. So that's good. We're also picking up steam on putting together our next episode of Making a Comic, where we're actually journaling our experience writing a comic script. And the next episode is going to be talking about creating character profiles. So the main character, the supporting cast, all those different kinds of things, trying to figure out who's who and what's what, and how we use that to set the foundation for our comic. And last but not least, is that Aaron? Is that Aaron coming in hot? He's coming in real hot. That's me. Maybe it's Aaron. I don't know. Last but not least, I want to congratulate Drew on nabbing Christian Bale doing his Batman voice to narrate that trailer. I thought that was fantastic. I don't know how he was able to afford a big name Hollywood actor, but that sounds fantastic. So I'm looking forward to seeing what else Batman is going to contribute to Unholy Nightmare. Back at today, if you haven't already.
Thanks. And after Love and Thunder, his career just kind of hit the skids, and
he needs the work. He needs the work. So here's Drew to save Christian Bale's career, and I fully appreciate that.
All right, Gabe. So you've got some daughters. Did you guys celebrate Thanksgiving?
Yeah, we had some turkey. We got a small turkey, but we also got turkey and ham, and did all the fixings. Went up to my mom's house, visited with relatives. It was a good time.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I thought, because you live in New Hampshire or whatever, you would have had like duck or I don't know what's bougie bird? Is it
game?
A pheasant.
Quail. No, I don't do bougie, and I don't live in New Hampshire. But that's much too far north for me. I'm more of a mid-Atlantic kind of guy. So we keep it simple: turkey, ham, pumpkin pie, and we just keep it simple.
Chat, I don't know if the chat knows this, but Wes comes on and just lies wildly about each of us.
Mostly about me. Mostly about me. Especially from our reviews on Ed versus Predator. So look, I'm going to get that joke out
You
of the way.
just give that book a 9 out of 10. It was not justified, sir.
Okay,
I maintain that. That was a terrible book.
We've told the joke, and now we can move on with the rest of the stream. Thank you.
You reminded me. I'm going to have to hit that.
No, Gabe gave a good review to Dynamite's Darkwing Duck. So I love Gabe, but he's also my nemesis.
The first couple of issues were okay. It's kind of gone downhill, so I'll give you that. That's why we're pulling back on that one.
What's coming out next? So Thundercats, Dynamite's got coming, or
they got Thundercats. Yes. Mad Cave's coming out with Flash Gordon. If you're liking any of that pulpy stuff, and Dynamite's also got Johnny Quest, Space Ghost, and one or two other Hanna-Barbera properties.
That's funny. Space Ghost
Aren't
just
they
came
doing
up.
Powerpuff Girls?
Oh,
There's a Powerpuff. I think it's Powerpuff.
It's Powerpuff. Yeah, Powerpuff Girls.
It's Powerpuff, but I'm not sure if they got that one. That doesn't sound familiar.
What was the name of that block of cartoons that came out when it was Dexter's Laboratory and all? Is that Powerpuff Girls was part of that? I feel like no.
Might have been. But it was strong enough to stand on its own.
Yeah, well, I think. Yeah, then they had their own show or something like that.
Yeah, but most of
up to the Hanna-Barbera Saturday afternoon, though.
That's what they were grabbing from is Hanna-Barbera's World of Super Adventure. Is the original block of cartoons where they had Space Ghost and Birdman and all those characters that are kind of lumped in together, and that's what they're really pulling from.
Hold on,
hey,
Powerpuff or Powerpuff?
It's Powerpuff.
Yeah.
But I just want a return of USA's Cartoon Express.
Oh wow!
Anyone remembers? Yes, I know.
Yeah, wow.
I want Dynamite to try to do Johnny Bravo current day.
Hell yeah!
I'm waiting for somebody to pick up Thundar the Barbarian. I don't know why nobody will touch Thundar the Barbarian. That's it.
I would do Thundar the Barbarian in a heartbeat. I even referenced that in one of the things where I was talking about Kneel Before Doomface. I basically just took the beginning of Thundar and then translated it over to what I was doing because I love that opening so much.
With Ariel and Ookla the Mock, I mean, it's
runaway planet hurtles between the Earth and the Moon, unleashing cosmic destruction.
It's sword and sorcery in the future. How can you pass that up? I mean, that's man.
Last but not least, we also have Doc. Been here from day one. How you doing, Doc?
I'm wonderful, sir. I am wonderful, and yes, I'm here
You still DMing Aaron's aunt?
all the time.
Talks to her more than I do.
Yeah, I know, right?
He actually went to Thanksgiving.
Yes.
They just kept me out of it.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm good, man. I'm good.
You had a good Thanksgiving?
Yeah, it was uneventful. Like half my family was out of town this time, so we ended up doing something real small. Don't have a lot of family anyway, so
Same.
it just ended up girlfriend, me, and my parents. My brother and his wife and their kids were out of town. All the other families either dead or moved away. So
I feel you. I had to cook for everybody, but it was worth it. I hadn't had green bean casserole in 8 years. It was amazing. I actually had to special order the ingredients because they don't sell green beans like canned here. They do it. I had to get it from Manila.
Oh,
But I made it work.
well, that's what we know. We have to send Wes in the future. Canned green beans.
Nah, you can send me some comic books or something. There's no comic shop here either, Doc.
We'll just have a
could use
pallet.
that.
We'll have a pallet of canned green beans and other non-perishable foods that he can't get. Just airdrop to his island like it's a fucking like it's that weird island on Lost.
Probably use it. It would do. I would use it.
You could sell it.
Let's give some shout outs to the Patreons. Then we'll hit up a few of these super chats. First up, definitely big shout out to the newest Patreon, Dylan Puchalowski, aka the Rogue Star, protector of Chicago. We've also got Logan Tedder, aka Sonic Surge, protecting the people of Echo Heights. We've got Yuri Volti, aka Thunderstroke, protecting the people of Voltropolis. Andrew Gonzalez, El Rayo, protecting Boltberg. We've also got Kanan Cast, also called Shadow K, the protector of Shadowfell. And finally, Dan Battles, the Battle Master himself, teaming up with Rogue Star and protecting the people of Chicago. So thank you very much to everybody for supporting us on Patreon. If you haven't checked that out, there's a link to the Kickstarter for Drew's project and a link to the Patreon in the video description. And we do have a few people that have got some super chats. First, Lane Kramer says, Jim Mint. So how many statues you got coming for the end of the year? XP for me, Poison Ivy, Skin Variant, and the Back Tank.
So Lane Kramer's touching some money because damn. I don't think I have too much coming in towards the end of this year. I think the Sideshow Spider-Man premium format might come. I'm waiting on this. The biggest, most anticipated piece right now is this huge 1/3 scale Incredible Hulk with the Jack Kirby portrait. I don't know if it's going to come by the end of the year or not. But if you're into statues, I am traveling to 2 international conventions. Actually, I'm leaving on Tuesday for Brazil to the Iron Studios event.
Beautiful.
And then I come back on the 5th. And then on the 6th, I'm leaving to Singapore for the XM Studios convention and headquarters. So I'm going to get a ton of content out there. And I'm looking forward to it, but I'm not looking forward to all the flying. It's going to be crazy, man. I've never done a trip like this.
Lucky. I hope you're an ass guy because Brazil is amazing.
I'm a married guy, so
that's look but don't touch. You know what I'm saying?
So my wife is a little concerned about that. I am going with my daughter to Brazil, but then I'm going solo to Singapore.
Singapore is absolutely amazing. If you've never been there, it's the cleanest place in the world. You could eat off the toilets in the airport. It's that clean. And
same with Japan, right? So I'm actually gonna hit Tokyo for my connecting flight. I'm like, damn, I wish I could have some time to like explore a little bit, but
I would say Singapore is even cleaner. Really cool place. We stayed at a place and went to like the Hard Rock. Well, we stayed at the Hard Rock and then we went to Hollywood Studios and they had a big aquarium and a water park all there.
Can I tell you a quick? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
Can I tell you a quick funny thing about Singapore though? So I had to get the vaccine to be able to go there, but not the COVID vax. I had to get a yellow fever vaccine because I'm going to be in Brazil, so close to Singapore. And because of all the vax talk, I was scared to death to get this yellow fever vax. Actually, I went there and I was like so stressed that the lady wouldn't even give it to me. She's like, "Yo, you got to come back tomorrow," because I was like, "I'm not with it." You know what I'm saying?
Sir.
But then I looked it up, and I'm like, "Yeah, it's been around for 80 years. That one's
been around for a long time.
Yeah, 80 years it's been around, but you have to be here for 20 minutes for us to monitor you, and you might have joint pains." I'm like, "Yo, I got joint pains as it is. Like, I can't afford more joint pains." And
I got the yellow fever before I went to Afghanistan. I got that in smallpox, and smallpox is the one that scared me.
Hold on, you got the vaccine or the fever?
I got both of them, the yellow fever and smallpox. But the smallpox you just got like this oozing, like sore thing on your arm for a week. And I was just staring at it.
Mine doesn't really hurt. I still have the Band-Aid on it, but it doesn't hurt or anything. I didn't really have any side effects. Thank God, man. I was stressed.
No, the yellow fever one's nothing compared to the smallpox.
Yeah.
I got the tetanus shot the other day.
Anthrax is not fun. That one actually did hurt.
Damn.
Had me all messed up for a few days. But man, congratulations. It's going to be a lot of fun. And they had some Michelin-starred chefs in Singapore when I went there too, so that was great.
I'm down to eat as much food as
my life.
As much food as I can eat in both of these countries. I'm down, so I'm looking forward to it.
Very nice. You're going to have the meat sweats in Brazil, sir.
They say you can't. You kind of, because I've been to Mexico before, but just because I lived in El Paso. But apparently, you're not supposed to drink the water out of there or brush your teeth with the water and all that shit, man. I'm like, damn.
You get mono doing that stuff.
We got the malaria pills and all that we're bringing with us, and some pills if you get diarrhea. Sorry to be gross, but just in case.
As far as the malaria pills, I wouldn't take them. You're going to have the weirdest dreams of your life.
Well, that's what they said. You got to take them in the morning because if you take them at night, you have these weird ass dreams. I was kind of looking forward to the weird dreams, not for nothing, but
listen, dude. Yeah, if you have a good dream, it's absolutely amazing. But when the one where you've been drinking and driving and you kill somebody, and then you shoot your brother, it's not worth it.
I think Drew should take malaria pills before he starts writing Unholy Nightmare.
Ooh, the dream's going.
Ooh, there we go.
It's like peyote.
It's not a bad idea.
I got some, maybe I'll give you some before I leave.
Yeah, I can stop by. Why not? You got a cup of sugar and some malaria pills.
Callum Lyle says, "I'm saying this because I love Storm. I don't want to see her or X-Men in the MCU because they'll Woman King her times 1,000 and make She-Hulk look good."
He's not wrong. Can we really trust current era Marvel production writers, directors
They're replacing all the writers. It might be good.
It doesn't. No.
What, you don't want female Silver Surfer, Doc?
No. I mean, I'm okay with Frankie Ray, but but no. Like, do we really trust any of the current editorial production, whatever, in charge of Marvel to not make Storm, Rogue, Jean Grey utterly fucking insufferable?
Kitty Pryde will probably be the worst.
Kitty Pryde will absolutely be the most. I mean, she was already kind of a little bit of an author/audience insert character whenever she was introduced to the X-Men. And she was really, really preachy at times under Claremont. She got even more preachy under like in the Krakoan era. I can't imagine how much I will absolutely despise Kitty Pryde with the current, behind the scenes writing, directing, production team involved in current era Marvel Studios. If it was 10 years ago Marvel Studios, yeah, absolutely, I'd be all about it. Maybe 10 years from now Marvel Studios, I'd maybe be all about it because maybe they'll get their shit together by then. But current, no, fuck no. This will make everyone despise all of these characters, and it'll make all my fucking comic books worth less. So fuck you people.
Do you think they're gonna read the room and adapt? No, they're gonna double down.
Yeah, dude. They didn't read. They're not reading the room in the comics industry, and that's pennies. Like that's the easiest fix in the world. They're not reading the room in they are actively because they have convinced themselves internally as well as whatever else, like up the corporate ladder, that 2012 through 2018, Marvel Comics were actually successful.
To Doc's point, one of the reasons I don't think that they're going to be able to course correct, they're not going to be able to read the room, is because right after the weekend debacle of Captain Marvel, what was the damage control that they came out with? Pedro Pascal's going to be Reed Richards.
Right.
They thought that was going to get people excited. They thought that was going to take away some of the negative press from Captain Marvel
and Young Avengers.
Yeah.
Elaine says, hasn't Trinity been made pointless now, her origin? Now, that's not confirmed, Gabe. It's only hinted that Wonder Woman's not her mom.
It is strongly implied. The way they set up the end of the issue that this character named Trinity, who was originally introduced in the 800th anniversary issue, I think it was back in May or June, and it was touted as being Wonder Woman's daughter, may in fact biologically not be Wonder Woman's daughter. So that doesn't necessarily, and I know we're spoiling it. Sorry if you're not reading it, you're probably never going to read it anyways, because most people don't. But so the intention is that she could still be an adoptive daughter. And actually, I've read issue number 4. I have an early copy of number 4. It's very different than issue number 3, and that King appears to be laying the groundwork of Wonder Woman taking on sort of an adoptive parent role, as it's implied. It's not stated, but it's implied. So it doesn't necessarily invalidate Trinity as far as how she was introduced, which is still probably the most insufferable introduction I've ever seen of a new comic character. But at the same time, it still kind of works within the context of Amazonian lineage. So I think it's probably still okay.
We'll see. David K says, did you hear about Batman's new Tamaranian girlfriend who's just a stand-in for Starfire? It's really dumb. So much for Catwoman. Also, I'd love to come on one of these Comics Aficionado podcasts sometimes. You guys are great. So I'm assuming this is Batman Offworld, correct?
Yeah.
And, I have not finished that one. Is she just a stand-in for Starfire, Drew?
I don't know. It's clear there's going to be some type of romantic friction going on there. It's clear. But it's told that this is an early Batman story. We don't know when exactly in Batman's career this is exactly. There's a lot of questions about that. What's that?
It's Elseworlds, though, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. They're not clear on that either. It doesn't say it on the book, but it could be a girlfriend. But who the hell knows? But we'll talk about it later, Wes, in our best of the week.
That's true. We'll get that. And Doc and I are going to review Batman Offworld number 1, because after having to go through that planetary ripoff Outsiders last week, I told Doc we give him a flip 'em, and I thought there was a 50-50 chance that Jason Aaron got this one.
No.
The initial findings are promising, Doc. How's that?
Yes. How many have all of you people been struck in the head repeatedly to forget what Jason Aaron's MO is? Hey,
we're only reviewing the issue. We're not reviewing the future of his writing or anything. We're only reviewing the issue itself.
All right. Then that Sabretooth book was great.
Sabretooth, the first issue,
even though it becomes it's perfectly clear exactly what. Hey, by the way, I hope everybody, you know what? No, I'll save that for the review.
Absolutely. We'll have that one up on Monday. I'm very excited for that review. Doc and I could be screaming at each other, and that's always the best reviews.
Just think.
As far as coming on to the aficionados, send me an email, and we'll see what happens. I do have a set group of people I do like to have on the podcast, because I know what they're going to do, and it's easy to get through stuff. Sometimes new personalities can be difficult, but I'm always willing to talk. He also says, I work in the video game and animation industries, and am very concerned about the current state of comics will be impacting licensing, hurting jobs, and reducing projects on my end of the entertainment industry.
I'm curious what I would actually like Dave to expand on that. I'm interested in how that's happening.
Well, if the comics aren't good and they aren't, if they're making the characters less popular, they'll be less viable in other mediums as well, I think is what he's implying.
Yeah, there's been
Go ahead, Sarah.
But I think there's been a lot of disasters lately. Like obviously the Avengers game with Kamala Khan front and center was an absolute disaster. And you know that that's not something that Square Enix wanted. You know that's something that Marvel dictated, was that Miss Marvel had to be front and center. And that tanked. And then Gotham Knights is tanking. Killed the Justice League with the Suicide Squad. Looks like it's going to tank. It's really kind of a bad time for comic book games when, you know, we had some heights there for a while with the first Spider-Man game, all the Arkham, the Arkham trilogy.
Arkham games are amazing.
Yeah, even Origins, which people nap on, but I say go back and play Arkham Origins. That game is great.
Well, honestly, I feel like they feel like they're able to do that because they have been very successful in the mobile gaming arena. Over the last few years, I think you currently have at Marvel Snapped. You still have Marvel Contest of Champions, which is still running after like 7 years.
I played that for a while, then I switched over to Strike Force.
Yeah, and then you had Strike Force that lasted for less time. I think Snap.
No, I'm playing Strike Force right now.
Oh, it's that one's still running. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think you're thinking of Avengers Alliance, which got phased out.
Yeah, that one was the one that was phased out. But yeah, so they're doing, and I guarantee they're still making good money out of that. The mobile games.
Yeah, but mobile games are completely different than other games because
I understand that completely. No, I get that. I absolutely get that. My point is, I feel like they're deciding that mobile gaming has the higher adoption rate than maybe AAA, quad A, console and PC gaming. I'm not 100% certain on their logic here, but I'm just trying to kind of back engineer their rationale here, except for the fact that mobile games have larger player bases. Maybe that's
it. The point to take into consideration about, how does comics affect that ecosystem is you really haven't had if you look at like say animation adaptations or film adaptations, all those storylines that are hitting big that people want to see play out are stuff that are from storylines and major events and major characters that were in vogue 20, 30, 40 years ago. If I look back on, let's say, the last decade plus, which new characters are standouts that I'd want to wrap a full-scale animated movie around or base a new video game on? There's nobody. No, nobody wants to develop an animation level film that's an hour or so around sync. Nobody wants to develop an animation film around.
I want Escapade.
Oh boy. Like I'm just thinking through the X-Men characters. I mean, who wants to, Ghostmaker? Who wants a full-scale animation film around Ghostmaker or Clown Hunter or the designer? I'm just rattling through the newer characters being created in the last decade or so. There's nothing there. It's superficial paper dolls. I mean, there's no meat to the storylines. There's no meat to the character development. It's still just Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, the X-Men, the Avengers, but it's only stuff that is decades old. Eventually, that material to draw from to adapt into other mediums is going to run out, and they're going to say, well, okay, what do you got for me now? And the comic industry is just going to be shrugging, saying, how about JLQ? Do you want the JLQ? Maybe we can do a movie on that. And I was like, nope, pass. And you just got nowhere to go.
No, hold on. What were you jumping in to say there earlier, Jim?
Yeah, I was going to say that it's kind of like what I was saying before. When people start losing interest in the movies and lose interest in the comics, then they're less likely to go buy a statue or buy an omnibus. So it definitely affects the interest in the hobby. Whereas when Infinity War was coming out, everybody and their mother wanted a Thanos statue. Sideshow was making thousands of them that would sell out within 10 minutes. So it's like people were interested in it. Now, exactly. Now there's a mass, what am I trying to say? There's no interest of it. So you see these statue companies are struggling as well. And of course, with the economy and all that stuff playing a role. But I think if they were still putting out banger movies, there would still be a high level of interest from collectors that would still be in these hobbies.
He's not wrong. Everything, while all of the ancillary products, absolutely, the licensing, the TVs, the T-shirts, the movies, the video games, the everything else. They make them a lot more money, but their core business is the comics, and it must remain the comics. And you have to maintain interest through the comics, and you have to essentially mine IP as well as stories. You get it's your R&D section for your actual large dollar revenue generators. But once if you lose your core business, everything else just starts deteriorating. It's going to take a little while, but it'll happen because it always has happened.
Very nice. Kyle Miles says, I also heard that DaCosta, who was the director of the Marvels, and Feige argued, and now they're shifting blame. Who are they blaming now?
Didn't we hear this exact same thing during She-Hulk?
Well, DaCosta was blaming Feige, saying, hey, this is basically his movie. But the narrative spin on the success of the Marvels is literally insane. If you know what I'm talking about, on how it's the most successful directed film by a black female. But I'm like, yo, it's also the most successful film of all time by a director named whatever her first name is, DaCosta.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of goalpost are we setting here? Like, it's crazy.
It's going to lose at least like $150, $200 million. Yeah, I got a video coming up about that tomorrow. I found this article where the guy just made like all these excuses. He played women, men, and it was so much fun. I had to do it. I was like, my goodness, the mental gymnastics going around. But I think
maybe we just don't want to see movies that don't look that good. And they've delivered a succession of movies that don't look that good. It's not. Everybody's trying to like go in and do all this forensic, like autopsy on how did the Marvels fail. You just have to look at the last string of Marvel movies, and that tells you alone like why this was destined to fail.
The recent movies leading up to this were not very good. This one was no better. The end. You end up with the exact same result or the same deterioration. You don't change the trajectory when you're not changing the trajectory. That's not that difficult.
Well, you know what? I'm sorry. I kind of look at it like it's like the WNBA. So you made this movie with 3 super hero women leads, which people are going to assume is for women. Just like the NBA, you would assume that's for women. But when people don't show up, it's like the women didn't show up for it. They don't show up to the WNBA games. They didn't show up to the Marvels. Even the people that did show up was like 67% men.
Well, that's for the fan to decide. If you guys remember that Family Guy bit where they're talking about the WNBA. Just one guy. Yay.
All right, Doc, before you go, Dave K is speaking to you. He says, Doc, if you're worried about Kitty Pryde in the MCU, wait till you see what they do with Saber.
I don't want to. I'm just going to say I don't want to.
I'm not going to because I'm not going to see Captain America movie without Captain America. So
yeah, I have exactly zero interest in not Falcon playing not Captain America. Zero. I didn't in the show. That's why I stopped watching the show partway through, and I have zero desire to give them money to see a movie. In fact, actually, to even waste my time. So I will never see what they do with Sabra.
Very nice. There we go. Thank you very much to everyone for supporting the channel. Now let's get into the big topic. I made a video on this one. Wonder Woman 3 came out this week from Tom. Almost said Tom Taylor, but it's Tom King. And the first issue I thought was really bad. I thought the second issue wasn't very good. And I thought that somehow the third issue was even worse. And there are a lot of things I think that go into making this a bad comic book true. But I did really think the storyline about the Marine being manipulated by the Sovereign guy to kill himself, it went kind of beyond just a bad comic book writing. And in the dialogue, it was terrible, but it was something more than that.
Yeah, this trope from Tom. I mean, look, I need to make one. There's a Tom King bingo card you can make with everything that all of his tropes he does in the comic, and this one hit at least 1 or 2 of them. But look, I really want to. I have to ask this. I really want to know this. But if you're watching this live stream right now, and you like Tom King and you enjoy them, these people do exist. I know they do exist. I've been to the conventions. He's got long lines of his fans. if you're watching this live stream, I want to know why you like Tom King's writing as well as this issue. Please explain to me how this is fun, why you enjoy this, and why you want more of this. I mean, I can see from
because there's a certain segment of the audience, True, that are simpletons. It's that simple. It's just that there's a certain element of the audience that like they think he's deep. They read what he puts on the page, and they're not very smart, and they don't think about things. They just consume, and they go, "Oh, this is very smart. This is very good. Oh, how shocking!" And that's who he writes to. And maybe that's the only audience that he can write to, because he is very much a one-trick pony.
Yeah, and when you just said, Aaron, I completely agree with. I really think this is true, that there are people who don't, lack of a better term, think critically. They don't. They just read it, and they don't analyze what they've read. They just read the words. They don't really stop to think about what they just read. And I really think those are the individuals who are blown away by this stuff and are coming back every week and are standing in line and just anxious to get his signature. I'm like, what is wrong with you? And really just stop to think about what you're reading.
They don't recognize that they're being sold the same story again and again and again with slight little, just you moving the pieces around ever so slightly, but basically the same story every single time.
Well, if you have writers that are kind of more entrenched in Tom King's, style of writing, I think there's a second aspect to it. I agree with you that there are just some people who just go for the superficial and they just say this is great, and they just kind of consume and don't think. And there's certainly part of that. The other part of that too is I'm going to commit a foul, and I'm going to tie Tom King to The Last Jedi. And the reason the way I'm going to tie those two together is I remember when The Last Jedi first came out, and before I'd seen it, but I'd heard the reviews coming in from some reviewers who were maybe I respected their opinions, but sometimes not. All of them would say the same thing. This subverts our expectations. It's something different. It's not just Star Wars with laser swords and magic forcey things. It's something different. I can get behind it being something different. And I think there's a certain segment of Tom King writers that will read his stuff and say, oh, this is not just Wonder Woman beating about bad guys. This is something different. This is not just Adam Strange flying through space with a ray gun. He's giving his daughter away as a ransom to commit genocide. It's something different. And I think there's just this mindset of a certain segment of readers where they get really ensconced in wanting something that isn't like a traditional superhero comic. And they think because Tom King is giving them that something different, that makes him somehow better.
Yeah, well, they love the idea of a superhero book that has no heroism in it.
Yeah.
Everybody is a depressed, awful scumbag.
It's subverting their expectations. It's not following the hero's journey. And for some people, they like that. And now that's not to say that you can't have variety. You can't do different things. You can't make characters that go through difficult challengers where they have to make certain decisions that are morally gray, or they have to make a decision where there is no happy ending at the end of it. I think there's a lot of room to do that if you do it right. But with Tom King, I think he just goes way to the extreme of let's make everything terrible. And people are like, wow, this is great because it's not, I punch out the bad guy and it's the end and happily ever after. And I think there is some validity to the big two getting stuck in that rut of just doing the same stories over and over again with very little stakes, very little growth in the character development. And so the fact that they're getting something different kind of gives King an edge. But I think what they're looking at getting something different versus analyzing what that different is and recognizing that it's poo.
It's just Amazon's attack again, though, isn't it? Is it really different?
Well, Tom King works for people who don't read the characters because Tom King has never come on.
Sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Aaron's speaking in English and Morse code at the same time.
But Gabe, back to what you're talking about, really, I'm trying to think, how many times in the last decade has subverting your expectations really worked in a comic book?
Almost never. Yeah. Almost never. But that's kind of the trick of it, where that melds the two together, where you keep expecting something different and not getting a different result. I mean, that's where the insanity and the lack of critical thinking comes in. There's the plug for the channel. But yeah, I mean, King at this point, it is impossible to look at King's, over of DC, different things that he's written over the past decade and not recognize that patterns are repeating over and over again. Let's take the main character. Let's write them completely different than any version of that character that you have ever seen before. Let's put them through a horrific, miserable, utterly depressing experience, and then at the end of it, there's no winners, and everybody just comes away feeling depressed and ugly. He's just doing that over and over again. The context is different, the semantics are different, the characters are different, but there's no elevation to the character. He's not maintaining their voice from any established version of the characters that are already built. He's just taking action figures and smashing them together and then tearing their heads off and then burying them in the sandbox.
It's literally the same formula, even with like the 12 maxi series thing and like the Strange Adventures thing. It's all the same kind of tone. And
it's misery porn.
Yeah.
Batcat, Strange Adventures. What's he doing right now? Dangerous Rorschach.
Mr.
The Human Target. Just all the stuff. It's over and over again. It's just take the characters, write them differently than anybody has ever understood that character to be, put them through miserable hell, and at the end of it, everybody walks away feeling ugly. That's just, he does that over and over again, and people just, because it's not the superhero comic, everybody thinks it's fantastic. It's high art. It's literature.
At this point, if you want to subvert my expectations, Tom King, write a story with a female protagonist who has flaws and has to overcome something. And write a story where there's actually a man in it who knows what he's doing. That will subvert my expectations. I won't believe that came from Tom King. I will think that he has a ghostwriter because he just writes the same thing over and over and over again. And I know that I'm getting like really hot here, but my audio problems are really pissing me off. And
you sound good right now, brother.
About Tom King.
You gotta let that anger out sometimes to get that mic clean.
I'm so tired. I'm so tired of him being handed these characters and he just takes a hot shit right on their face and then serves it up to us and expects us to tell him what a genius he is. And all of these people that line up to tell him that, to kiss his ass and tell him how good this is. You don't understand storytelling. You don't understand what makes a good comic. You don't understand the nature of heroism, just like Tom King doesn't. Stop telling this guy that he's good. Look at his sales. Look at his sales and the direction that they're going. There's a pattern. The pattern is down. Do you know why? Because he does the same thing every time. Smarten up and recognize it, and recognize that you're getting played.
He did write Catwoman with a lot of flaws when he did Batman Catwoman, because that was really a Catwoman book. But she didn't really have overcome everything. She was just really mean to her daughter. Like, I don't get, like what were you even doing here? It's always frustrating, Gabe.
Yeah. Plus, the other part of it too is you just have a tendency to, how should we say, borrow plots from other established stories. If you're into things like True Grit and DOA and other classic kind of Hollywood films, he does tend to repurpose those plot lines if you're paying close attention, which I think Tom King presumes most people aren't.
I don't think he even repurposed True Grit. He kind of just stole some like scene for scene parts of it, at least in the beginning before I stopped reading it.
Yep.
And Gabe, you just said he reminds me of the first Toy Story movie, the kid who lived across the street who takes the toys, takes them apart.
Mike?
Sid.
Yeah.
Sid
and Scud.
Yeah, he's taking those toys, taking them apart and making warped figures out of them. That is Tom King right there.
Wait, I do that. Not in stories, but
but you flip them to make money. You flip them to make money. That's different. So as far as why does he have such a strong following, sort of a fervent fan base?
I don't think he really does anymore. There are certain people that are fans of his that will be very vocal about it.
It might be shrinking.
The sales have definitely shrunk a lot.
I think they follow him. They don't follow the characters, and that's part of the difference. Is people who, for example, Strange Adventures. People who love Strange Adventures because it's Tom King, not because they like Adam Strange. If you're an Adam Strange fan, there's no way you like that Strange Adventures.
Also,
I think that's the difference.
I'm being harsh. I think that a lot of the people that are in line for Tom King's autograph, I don't think they've ever read the book. I think they've thumbed through it and they think it's great because he, for some reason, always gets paired with the best artists, and that is kind of like the Emperor's clothes that are cloaking him. If you gave him, say, a Riley Rossmo, nobody's standing in line to get that book.
Oh no! Don't make that mistake. there is no, for some reason he gets the best artist. He intentionally goes after the best artist. And I think he knows that. And I think he knows that the only reason that he gets a pass with so many of the story choices he does is because the art is always consistently fantastic. You're exactly right. If he did a Riley Rossmo or some, kind of up and coming, George Kambadias or somebody like that, there is no way he would get the kind of play that he gets on the stories that he writes, because he hides behind the art.
I think you're all going a little too deep on this. I feel like Tom King is a blank slate writer. He's going for one type of story, which is the superhero. He wants that same sort of legitimacy for his stuff that Alan Moore got. And I feel like it's a lot of people that are almost impressing upon him their desire to see, comics taken more seriously as a legitimate storytelling, medium, and that Tom King is the best hope for that happening.
I mean, I think part of the other problem too is certain writers have certain strengths as far as the type of genres they write in. I think the more I think about his style, Tom King to me really strikes me as a sort of crime noir, detective noir type of writer, because when he's doing things like Gotham City Year One and some of the Dangerous Street stuff, those are all rips on like early classic, very seedy, steamy kind of Chinatown kind of detective noir stories, where everybody is ugly and broken and kind of miserable to some degree or another. It's sort of like Ben Percy. Ben Percy's writing a lot on the Marvel titles, but if you look at what Ben Percy writes, he really, really wants to be a horror writer. Just let the man write horror comics. Stop putting him on Wolverine. Stop putting him on anything else. Just let him write horror comics. So for Tom King, if he wants to write stuff, just go write crime noir, go write detective noir, leave the superheroes alone, because the two styles don't mesh unless it's very specific circumstances. Like the question. The question might be a good thing for Tom King. That might be a good circumstance where that kind of style fits.
Ed Brubaker already owns noir in comics. There is not enough room for two of them. Sorry.
Well, the other problem is Tom King's not going to have any interest in that because he wants the stepping stone.
I'm sorry, buddy.
I was just saying that Tom wants the stepping stool to popularity that Wonder Woman, that Batman, that these characters bring, and that's what a lot of writers in the industry want. They want to be able to take what do you call it in the military, West? Critical nodes and infrastructure. They want to be able to take that not only for their agenda, but so as a stepping stool for their career. Ultimately what Tom King wants to do is he wants to write shitty movies and shitty TV shows. That's ultimately where he would like to go. And this is a means to do that within Warner Brothers. So, and we've seen him come close a couple times. He almost wrote that, the New Gods movie that we were going to get from him. And now I can only think of Nia DaCosta, but
no, the Wrinkle in Time,
the lady that failed her.
Yeah.
The lady that
so this is something that you were talking about earlier, Jim, man, is Tom King is also in like the DC Studios writer room. He's a consultant to James Gunn. And he's going to have a lot of input on the future of DC characters in the DCU, because he does have a spot at the table. And James Gunn has gone out of his way and said people should go read Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, even though it's actually True Grit, not really a Supergirl story. And he's also said, I think Danger Street is the best comic book he's read in years and all that kind of stuff. And that's really the big implication that's kind of waiting for us around the corner besides these bad comics.
Yeah, that's a good point. That the Supergirl or whatever, Superwoman, Woman of Tomorrow, whatever, wasn't a bad read, but it could have been any character. It's just it was a plot that has been done before. To your point that you said earlier, right? It's like you jack this idea of this space traveling being. It could have been anybody. But
there's even some stuff in Wonder Woman 3 that like is directly from something else. When I was reading it, I was like, oh, I know exactly what movie he watched to get this bit.
Oh, you're talking about the Avengers. I've got a invisible jet punchline for I've got a Hulk.
Oh yeah,
thing.
I've got a Hulk.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was, and you can get away with that, like if you're doing a parody or you can hide behind, oh, it was an homage. It wasn't an homage. Like all of your stuff is like just you grab stuff from other places and you repurpose it and put it into your books. And I'm starting to think that the longer he goes, the longer we're stuck with him, the more and more we're going to see just blatant plagiarism of bits and jokes and setups and payoffs.
Well, I would take that over the over narration of everything that he does now. Like the narration in this comic book in issue number 3 specifically, with the Sovereign talking to Trinity through the entire thing, it's just boring. It's not even well written at this point, Aaron.
Yeah, no, and you need something you need a writer who's clever. You need a writer who is entertaining, who, if you're going to do that, you have to at least like have some wit. And he's just such a dour kind of, like when he writes a joke, it's like, of course he has to grab the joke from the Avengers, because I don't think he can write a decent joke himself. I don't think he's a guy that's funny. I think that he's a guy that's he's just sad all the time. He's sad and he's sad that he didn't get to marry his mom. And, so he's just going to put us all through this over and over again until somebody stops him.
If Tom King really wants to get into Hollywood, he needs to go talk to Zeb Wells, because Zeb Wells is doing a terrible job on ASM. And yet somehow he's still the EP of She-Hulk shows. He's one of the writers on Deadpool 3. He's got, he's got all these Hollywood gigs lined up, even though he's doing a terrible job in comics. So he needs to go talk to that guy and figure out how it's done, because Tom King's not getting anywhere in Hollywood.
Robot Chicken.
I thought Tom's mom was like an executive with Warner Brothers or something.
Yep, she is. Yeah. She was a big deal. She got him into DC offices when he was like 10 years old, and got him access so he could talk to all the writers and artists that were working in the offices at that time. So she got him all kinds of DC access ever since he was a little kid. That's from him. I've heard him say that on interviews.
I just pictured him as like looking exactly the same, but like 2 feet shorter, with like the Donald Duck like sailor hat and the big lollipop. Oh boy, I'm so excited to be here at Warner Brothers. One day I'm gonna ruin all these characters. Yeah. It's gonna be great.
And he's talking to Graham Nolan at the drawing board. He's telling him, wouldn't it be cool if you had Batman kill himself? Wait, what?
Go away, kid. You bothered me.
So we do have some people talking. So let's hear from the viewers. Tommy Review says, "Hail, Comics Aficionados and Jim Mint. Nice to see you on here. Love the Facebook group. I've been reading my Planetary Omnibus thanks to Doc. Also, F. Tom King is a fellow vet."
The Facebook group has been wild lately. I'll just say we have a mixed group of people in there, and it gets crazy.
Absolutely, and I'm going to be doing like a planetary. I don't want to call it a reading group, but I guess maybe that's what it is. Where every week we're going to go through Planetary beginning to end. I've reached out to a couple of people, but it's going to be on the Patreon. I'm going to do that, and then Miller World from beginning to end. So I'll be getting into Planetary soon.
Planetary was great. I read it years ago, though.
We haven't talked about it, but there's definitely the kind of the veteran aspect to Wonder Woman 3 that is, to me, got me the most. Forget his writing, just the fact that he went there, I think is probably worth diving into that a little bit.
Yeah, I did my video on it yesterday. I didn't feel, I don't know, man. That normally I have to read a comic book 2 times before I reviewed it, and I couldn't bring myself to read Wonder Woman 3 a second time.
It was pretty gross. It was gross.
I did not appreciate that at all. And I definitely did see a lot of fellow vets out there that were unimpressed, although a couple of them were certainly supporting Tom. Caleb says, "I've never served, but I know what it's like to have of those thoughts. Is Tom King trying to imply something? And why is Jim Lee not fired?" I don't know what he was trying to imply. I think he was just trying to demonstrate that the Sovereign manipulates people into doing things that they normally wouldn't do using the lasso of lies. I just didn't think he did a very good job with it, and I don't think he, just the amount of veteran suicides going on right now. Like I said, it's an epidemic, and I think he could have done it better with a little more care. Is my big issue.
Yeah, I think the part of the challenge is PTSD and veteran suicide is a sensitive topic. It's an important topic, and it's one that should be treated with sensitivity and respect. That's not to say you can't use that in a comic book. You absolutely can. But when you do it, you have to do it. You have to treat it with the sensitivity and respect that it deserves. Tom King did not do that. He just used it as a kind of like, a cheesy
Plot device.
He did a cheesy plot device to make the Sovereign look like a bad guy, which we already knew he was a bad guy. Because at the end of it, what happens is this unfortunate soldier, is it Delgado? I think it was Delgado killed himself, but it had no impact or value to the story. It didn't change anything about what Wonder Woman was doing. It didn't change what the Sovereign was doing. It was just there to be shocking for its own sake. And I think that's where it becomes the most distasteful, is because you're just using a very sensitive and important topic for a lot of people, and you're just making it this cheesy shock gotcha for no other reason, just to kind of make your comic seem edgy. And I think that's kind of I want to say the word. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to say the word. It's despicable. I think it's a despicable creative choice, and shame on Tom King for going there, because I think that's too much. That's over the line.
You're expecting them to have.
My word was repugnant.
Yeah. But I think everybody's just making the mistake of expecting Tom King to have more depth than a puddle.
Yeah, maybe it's our fault. And Caleb says, and I highly doubt those men in the trenches in No Man's Land scene lost their manhood when Diana boosted their morale and inspired them to fight.
I'll give credit for one small part of the Tom King issue number 3, and it's very, very small. Is he did actually subvert my expectations by having the soldiers say, "Well, I'm not upset that we lost a Wonder. She's a superhero. Of course we lost. We expected to lose." Is basically like, it's like we did our duty, did what we were supposed to do, and we lost. And I'm not threatened by the fact that I lost to a woman. She's basically a god. Like, what are you even trying to do here? I was surprised that he had those words come out of a man's mouth. So that was a subversion, but it wasn't enough to make the comic good.
No, it's only one panel.
Mm-hmm.
And then he veers off quite dramatically. He says, do you think Tom King enjoys being hated? No. I think most people want to be liked. I think a lot of times he doesn't realize why people are turned off by his writing. You can see that in the interviews. I think he still doesn't understand why Heroes in Crisis put such a black mark on his career. Daniel Beatty says, Tom King makes you feel dirty after reading comics.
Yep.
Not always, but he does do it. And
Block.
definitely, like the only other time I felt really sick to my stomach was at the end of Scott Snyder's Black Mirror in Detective Comics. And that was actually part of the storyline. I think you were supposed to feel revolted at the end of that thing, with the implication that the water supply had been tainted and the children of Gotham might grow up to be sociopaths like James Gordon Jr. That I don't think Tom King was shooting for that. It's one of those things. And then Lane says, Gabe, Danny Lore's JLQ is still coming for you.
No, I reject that premise utterly. I reject your reality, and I choose to substitute my own, where Danny Lore does not write anything for any of the big two ever again.
She hasn't been writing much lately. She was getting a lot of work, and now she gets none.
There are a lot of writers in that kind of group of writers that haven't been writing much of anything lately. So
Vita hasn't written anything for almost like a year and a half. I had a short story in Superman, I think.
yeah, she's writing and Mags is writing the Rebel Moon comic for Zack Snyder, which I don't think anybody's going to read anyway, so it doesn't matter. T. Franklin hasn't written anything. Mags hasn't written anything. Nobody's, all that group of people that people, folks kind of point to as, this is the problematic group in comics writers. None of them are around anymore doing anything of note. So,
Wes, I died a little inside yesterday because Mags went on a string of tweets that I was like, there we go, the stupid tweet of the week again. Like next week, it's going to be Mags again. And so I think we need to divide the category into here's Mags' stupid tweet of the week, and then here's the stupid tweet of the week.
Mags.
Yeah, I think there needs to be two categories, because it was just a string of, Zack Snyder thinks I'm so great. It was just like this long thread, and it was like, you were just begging for money like 2 days ago.
Fans,
yeah. And now you're going on about how you and Zack Snyder just hit it off so well. And no one cares. No one cares. No one respects Zack Snyder. No one really believes this, the way that you're painting it. And nobody cares, even if every word that you're saying is the gospel truth.
Setting him up for the Sean Gordon Murphy treatment.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I was like, this is going to be love bombing here, because he said you were brilliant, but he was just, it's going to be another, it's like, hey, Mags, it's just another grift, man. It's just another way to emotionally blackmail somebody into giving you money. It seems like, I think you're absolutely right.
No offense to Snyder stands, but one of the hallmarks of Zack Snyder is he does not know how to tell stories. He's a beautiful cinematographer. He makes things look exceptionally pretty. But if you try to peel back the layers on his scripts, it's as superficial as Doc said, a shallow puddle. There's nothing there. There's no meat. So I mean, I don't look to Zack Snyder as the arbiter of what's a good storyteller or who's a good storyteller. But on the second point, I mean, I think we can all feel a sense of relief knowing that Gail Simone is taking over on the X office. So as long as that's happening, I think we're in great shape for the future of Marvel. That's for sure.
Doc and I are going to talk about that on Sunday. Terrence says Hobbs a windbag, and even if it's good, it's a slog to read. Adding his neurosis just makes it worse.
You know what's funny? Someone said earlier in the comments, I have to agree with this, that I feel cleaner reading Faust in Red Room. I have to agree with that. I do feel cleaner reading Faust, Love of the Damned, than anything Tom King has written.
Oh
his pacing definitely has problems. He definitely has a pacing problem.
Eric O'Sullivan, the Sultan of Soup himself. Tom King is the symptom. The disease is the editors and whoever greenlit Wonder Woman 3 and Heroes in Crisis. In my honest opinion, it's the academic postmodernists who get hired out of Ivy League schools. It doesn't sell to blue-collar folk. Cheers.
Fair point, Sully.
Yeah. Your audio went out, Aaron. But
of course it did. Why wouldn't it?
I mean, the editors, I mean, we always talk about the writers, but of course the editors sign off on this stuff. It doesn't go to print and says, unless the editor says okay. So
well, a lot of times too, the editors are giving not to Tom King, I don't think, but to your lower level guys, your Jackson Lansings, your Colin Kellys, those guys are getting called up, and it's like, we have this idea, and now we want you to execute it, and you can only say no so many times before you have to say yes if you want to continue working. And I'm sure that there's guys. I'm sure David Pepos has the same problem. I'm sure that they get offered things that they absolutely do not want to write, but eventually you got to say yes to something.
Well, true. I guess the point is, we're talking about Wonder Woman 3 and Tom King, is that didn't happen by itself. Somebody in between Tom King and Jim Lee, some layers of administration said, yeah, this is good. I think this is great. This is representative of the character. Print it. And that's where one of the biggest breakdowns occurs that we see the least of. And
I'd be shocked if Jim Lee ever reads a pitch from anyone. That if it ever makes its way up. No, I don't think so either.
I don't know what Jim Lee's doing anymore. You don't see him talk about anything for anything. I don't know.
He's biding his time till his golden parachute is what he's doing.
I guess
he does red carpets, and I don't know. He probably introduces himself to important people.
He must have been so bored during the actor strike. No red carpets to go to. Yeah. Just have to sit in the DC office and pretend to be interested.
Playing Sudoku. But yeah, I'm with you, man. I think the idea that comics are too simple of an art form, we need to sophisticate them. So let's get a bunch of people that want to tell stories not intended for the actual customers themselves. Does create an enormous disconnect. But one of the things I will say this about Tom King, if you've never read a Tom King book and it's not your favorite character, whatever, it will seem exciting the very first time because he is doing stuff that you don't normally see done with the characters. But at this point, he's doing the same exact stuff over and over again, and it's no longer exciting. So initially, I can see why people would be excited about a Tom King book if they've never read it before, because it would feel very different. But once you're on like year 6 of Tom King telling the same story over and over again, it does get very boring and very predictable. And very frustrating is the best way I can kind of put it. So Federico De La Casa, live from Italy. Ironic for Tom King, who worked for the CIA, an agency that killed more people and provoked more wars compared to working people in the army, mocked the same army protecting his ass, and his fans are the woke.
I don't think anybody disagrees.
No.
No, it's like
agreed.
Yeah, he likes. I think that's what they thought they were getting with Tom King. He was in the CIA. We'll have him do the Nightwing book. We'll make him into, we'll make him into James Bond. This guy's a super spy, and it turns out now he's just super depressed.
Can you imagine what atrocities he's committed to have as much guilt as he does, and to have such contempt for the military man?
I think maybe he was aware of stuff, but he wasn't. He's not like a CIA agent. Like he was like
no,
guy.
He's a desk guy. But I'm saying like he knows some stuff that makes him really sad.
You do get the impression that he was involved in something or witnessed something that he's not very proud of.
Yeah, but you get this ex-CIA guy, and he's doing all relationship stories, right? It's like there's nothing badass about any of these stories.
I would think that if you went through something traumatic, and you were part of something that, or you were privy to something that was pretty terrible and gave you PTSD and, gave you depression and you still struggle with it, I would think you would be more inclined to lead into stories of heroism and want to tell stories about the very best of humanity in order to wash your soul. But instead, he just wants to wallow in it, and he wants to make all of us wallow in it too. Just wallow in the misery. Like Doc said, it's misery porn.
Yeah. Jose to Beast. Oh, sorry.
We're paying to be his therapist, and that's amazing. I love it.
Jose to Beast. Tom King fans have yet to tell me a good story he has currently. Wonder Woman 3 was feminist, boring, and a chore. Did anyone read Rorschach? It's bad. Rorschach was interesting.
Yeah, I read it.
Until the end, and you're like, that's it? Like, God damn.
But see, that's the formula. They're always, like you kind of said before, they're always interesting, especially in the beginning. Oh my God, this is a whole new direction for this character. But then the endings never stick. Rorschach got worse with every issue, as I recall reading it. Yeah.
The art was really good, though.
Yeah. Well, go ahead, Drew.
He was taking digs at Frank Miller and a few other art creators in that book, from what I recall.
No, never forget what he tried to do to Jay Lee. That's all I have to say about that.
Jeez. So, and you couldn't do that to a nicer guy who didn't know what the hell was going on. But back to Drew's point, didn't he put creators in that story?
Frank Miller was a part of the story, yeah.
He was like one of the neighbors or something like that, right? In the apartment building or some shit.
And I think Ditko was one of them too.
It was Ditko, or like it was supposed to be Ditko or something.
Yeah,
that was a weird run, man.
Daniel Beatty, which writers enjoy each other's comics or the characters they are writing? As always, I blame the editors. You do get the distinct feeling that a lot of these writers aren't reading what's going on or what's popular.
True,
that's one of the reasons.
I mean, if I let's see, the writer that immediately comes to mind is Jeremy Adams, because he generally seems to like what the characters he's writing, and he's doing a good job of it. I'd also say maybe Jim Zub. Jim Zub's killing it on Conan right now.
Well, Mark Waid seems like Batman and Superman a lot.
I think, Mark Waid. Yeah, Mark Waid. We've said this before, is the absolute, the absolute template for trying to separate the artist from the art, because his writing is some of the best that's coming out of DC right now. But by all accounts, he's tough to get along with. But that's So there are a few, but they're not many, and there aren't as many as there should be for the companies that have the prestige of their names, which is Marvel and DC. There should be people fighting to get into those publishers, and they're not. And the people that are in there, half of them at least, don't act like they like what they do. And that's the problem.
I saw a tweet not too long ago. One of you guys might know who it was from, that were saying we need more rock stars at the at the big two. And I agreed with that, because I felt like, love or hate Donnie Case, I felt like he was a rock star doing big explosive things that got people excited. Like, who are the current rock stars writing comics right now?
We actually, Doc and I talked about this on our Q&A last week, and Donnie Cates was one of them, probably Mark Miller.
Mark Miller for sure, hell yeah.
There just weren't very many. It was actually hard to find them, and most of them don't work at DC or Marvel. Jeff Johns was another.
Yeah.
We had one more that we thought could still like sell comic books on their name alone, but it was only 4 people.
Guys like Dan Jurgens, there's solid journeymen too.
Yeah, but those aren't the rock stars. They don't bring NASA's into the shop.
Daniel Warren Johnson's probably the other guy right now. He's the one.
Yeah.
I mean, we different.
Even Kirkman, Robert Kirkman, I would say.
Yeah, Kirkman's another big name. So
I mean, I love Daniel Warren Johnson. I think the challenge there is you have to sort of adopt to his art style, which isn't for everybody. It's not very traditional. Superhero comics, there's a lot of stylization to it. So once you get into it, you can really get into it, and I think it's an easy sell. But for some people, it's just that initial hump of trying to get over and trying to get used to his style. And once you get past that, then that's easy to love his stuff.
I think they said he's not going to do the art on Transformers anymore, but he's still writing it. If I recall,
I was told he was going to be done in issue 6.
Yeah, is that
But
the age
no
6
longer,
anymore.
not even writing it anymore.
I hope he is.
As far as I knew, yeah, after issue 6, he's done.
I was at the panel in New York Comic Con, but I don't really remember what he said about that.
Did you get the ash can?
I did, yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
That was a hot commodity. Callum says,
Yeah.
off topic, did you know Jessica Gao has a husband and Kelly Sue has a daughter? Yeah, she's married to Matt Fraction. If they hate men so much, why do they bother, or am I missing something?
Jessica
I
Gao,
think
for people who don't know, Jessica Gao was the showrunner for She-Hulk on Disney Plus, who got into a lot. You know, she was the one that made a lot of comments about they were trying to do a legal procedural, but she didn't know anything about writing legal procedurals, and had all kinds of comments about we're happy that these scripts are going to piss off all the misogynists and that kind of thing. So that's who Jessica Gao was, and obviously that didn't turn out so well.
That's crazy, right?
I think a lot of times people are playing characters when it's like they're doing their heel interview, like they're The Rock or Hulk Hogan or something.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
But Matt Fraction is getting a lot of praise because isn't he the head writer or the showrunner for the Monarch show? I think I heard that correctly. The Godzilla show on Apple TV.
Is that the one? I know he's doing a show that's doing well.
Yeah, I think that's the one. So he's getting some good credit out of that.
But you are not missing anything, Callum. People are always contradicting themselves. He also says Tom King was implied many times he hates kids. Or his kids.
Hates his kids.
Well, that's another one of the tropes in every single Tom King story. A kid gets brutally killed in some form or fashion.
Oh,
the backup story in Wonder Woman had a good kid story. It seemed like it was almost pleasant.
An insufferable kid. I would say insufferable kids, plural, but yeah, that's me.
Listen, if you're not a dad, everyone else's kids are insufferable. You know what I mean? You just gotta like that.
I like my kids.
Absolutely, my kids
I
are
like
the best. Jose de Beats, what draws you guys to comics? Story or art? I am a writer-driven comic reader. Personally,
Me too. But the art is important.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the art draws you, but the story has to keep you. If the art is good, but the story sucks, all you've got is a comic book made of postcards, and that's not going to keep people coming back for more.
So you're not a big fan of Neil Adams' Dead Man? Amazing art, garbage story.
Yeah, it's Neil Adams, so I kind of have to give him.
So what are you, Jib? You seem like a visual guy. You got all the.
Hey, don't typecast me as some kind of non.
You seem illiterate.
Hey, you seem like a fucking idiot. What do you like? Just art and looking at the pages?
Yeah, they look like somebody who just goes
like designs. Are you
pretty pictures.
Reader
This has come up a few times, like during our live discussions and stuff. Like, I'm down. I could read a story that has bad art if I'm digging the story, and I can get through a bad story if I like the art. So I don't know. I kind of, what draws me to it, I think maybe the character first, and then does it have good art? Is the story good? It kind of, I don't know. Ideally, both would be good, but I don't have to. I don't check out one way or the other. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can get past it as long as something about it has a redeeming quality.
So Jim is actually reading Miracle Man right now, and his mind is blown right now. So yeah, he knows what he's doing.
So I had no idea who the hell Miracle Man was. I didn't know Alan Moore wrote it. I wasn't a reader all my life. Like, I got into it as an adult, being more a collector. So now I'm going back and I'm finding all these gems, no pun intended. Well, I mean, we can intend it. But, huge fan of all the Alan Moore shit. And I'm picking up Miracle Man. And I think I wrote it in my Facebook group. I'm like, holy shit, this feels like Alan Moore, because he's not credited in the omnibus. I guess he didn't want his name on it for whatever reason, right? But mine is being blown. I just finished it the other day, Drew, too, man, with that Olympus arc. Shit is crazy, man.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, one of the best reading experiences you'll ever have.
Yeah, definitely recommend. Highly recommend.
Jacob Sedlock says, all these hacks and edgelords waiting to ape Alan Moore, ignoring the fact that Moore has effectively disowned Watchmen for being an overdone premise.
Yeah.
Doc, is your mic on?
Should be.
It sounds like you're going through your computer now.
Fuck.
It looks like you're having technical difficulties.
He's DMing Aaron's aunt.
He's like, yo, girl.
What's
You
up?
want to go to Pretentious Bread?
He's like, yo, the stream's almost over. What's going
half
on?
soup sandwich or soup and half sandwich combo meal.
But see, the thing about Jacob's comment, Alan Moore, I feel like he always disowns all of his work, like to the Miracle
He's
Man point.
disowned
Hey,
comic books lately.
yeah, don't even put my name on the shit. Like, he's a little bit out there.
Listen, he's busy being a sorcerer,
Yeah.
supreme of
A
Earth.
mage.
He doesn't have time for all this.
Praying to the snake
He's a
god or whatever.
novelist now. Yeah.
How's this?
But
now?
the people
You know what's
learned
funny?
all the
Better.
wrong lessons from Watchmen and Dark Knight Returns.
It's also funny seeing Marvel have to like edit some of his work because it doesn't age well, a lot of the stuff in Miracle Man, right? I mean, to like being politically correct or what have you. So it's always funny putting out this brilliant piece of art, but knowing that there's like kind of like racist shit in there. You know what I mean?
Well, it's but it's like everything within context is the sensibilities of today. You can't tell a complex story anymore. I think that This Is America. Donald Glover. He basically said it like you can't take risks anymore. You can't do anything interesting because someone's going to cry, and the corporations are afraid that someone's going to cry. And no matter how minute,
Went out.
of course it did. You know what?
Come on, Aaron, you were on a roll, buddy.
No, he's right. Corporations aren't willing to take those risks anymore. It's amazing how far now corporations have gone to appease the one person, not the majority, but the one person, and that one person raises a hissy fit. That's it. Party's over.
It should be a majority rules system or whatever you want to call it.
It sucks when you go back and watch something as benign as Monster Squad, and you're like, whew, they would never greenlit like this movie anymore. And it's like, it's a PG movie.
Basically any movie from the 80s. You're like,
Yes.
This would never fly today.
They are now beholden to the tyranny of the minority.
Sigma Comics, HH and the fellas. Shout out to the Thinking Critical team from Fan Expo San Francisco. Here 3 hours early, assessing the battlefield of General's Duty. When comics became the Joy Luck Club, duty went out the window along with quality. Man, very nice. San Francisco. Watch where you step in that place. I heard it's a little dirty there nowadays, but you can go down to the Comics Experience and meet Brian Hibbs yourself, sir.
Well, they'll clean it up if certain visitors come from other countries.
When China's tyrant shows up, they did clean it up. So it's
They
actually
did the same thing in China when they had the Olympics. They started walling up all the homeless people.
We do the same thing here. We only clean the house. Well, my wife only cleans when we have visitors coming. So I kind of understood that.
But definitely shout out to HH and the fellas. If you're in the San Francisco area, definitely go down and say hi to him. And there's a really good chance he's going to sell you a copy of Here Comes Calico, or possibly even the manga, which is really awesome. They reformatted it, put in black and white. It's a really cool collected edition. So congratulations to those guys. And I hope you're enjoying San Francisco. But do not eat the avocado tomato
Bagels.
pizza, man. Just eat a real pizza.
Disrespecting the
Pepperoni.
smear.
Exactly.
The hollowed out bagel.
David K. Have you read Anderson Gabrick's run on Batgirl from the early 2000s? That had deep writing with multi-layered metaphors. Current writing can't come close to that. I have not read that one. Is that something I'm missing out on?
I didn't read it.
We're a bunch of uncultured swine. Is that what you're saying? Oh,
Yes.
My goodness.
Clearly.
Well, we'll have to check that one out. Thank you very much for the heads up. I'm always looking for some great old stories to get into. And that is not a name that comes up very often when people are talking about great comic runs of the past. So I would like to check it out.
Yeah.
And thank you very much. I always appreciate that. Yul Carter from Fantastic Comics, not San Francisco, but in Berkeley, California. Happy Saturday, everyone. This Tuesday at 8 p.m. Pacific, we'll be interviewing the mighty Joe Casey. Tell him why that matters, Doc.
Because Joe Casey is fucking awesome. Because he's one of the last few actual superhero comic writers in the industry. Because his Wildcats version 3.0 and volume 2 is monumentally influential in the 20th century of Marvel. Because he was one of the first ones, him along with Warren Ellis, to really take a completely different take on the superhero and the nature of superheroes.
You forgot what's so funny about True Justice in the American Way, one of the greatest Superman stories in the last 25 years.
Yeah, except for the fact that I hated the Elite because they were a pastiche of the Authority, and I really liked the Authority. So,
but it was him.
I know, yeah, I know.
Doc is petty. You can't do this with him.
I know. I do get petty. Yes. I will still never buy anything Grant Morrison writes because of how bad he fucked over Wildstorm. So
he only wrote 2 issues, Doc. How much?
Yes, that's the problem. The problem was he was writing. He wrote 3 issues total. He did 2 issues of the Authority and 1 issue of Wildcats. The problem is they were done at the same time during a relaunch, and those were the 2 flagships. They were the tent poles for the entire line. They didn't come out. So guess what? The whole line crashed behind it. And it led to what we ended up getting with World's End, which turned into the end of Wildstorm, which turned into them getting merged into the DCU as part of the New 52. So fuck Grant Morrison because of all the consequences of his absolute failure, because he threw a temper tantrum because he didn't like the reviews on the Authority. Fuck you, Grant. Go be a wizard somewhere else.
So, Doc, do you trust James Gunn with the Authority, or do you think Tom King's going to be whispering in his ear, fucking it up?
Oh, Tom King's going to fuck it up. And honestly, I know what they're going to do. They're going to do the exact same thing that they're setting up to do in the DC Comics right now, which is basically turn the Wildstorm characters into the anti-Justice League, but under, instead of it being John Lynch as kind of the
Waller
CIA guy kind of pulling all the strings, it's going to be Waller.
100% correct. Dave K says Terry Dodson does character concepts for games now in 3 pages a month for DC. Frank Cho was removed from Wonder Woman and wants to do Power Girl, but wasn't allowed. DC hates hot women in comics now.
Not according to their covers. They're willing to do it on the covers, but not on the interiors.
I mean, this is part of a larger problem with respect to brand management, marketing, and business decisions for Marvel and DC as a whole. Just from the perspective of, if you're trying to sell product, forget about comics, just any product. You have to know who your customers are and what they like, and then you give it to them or you sell it to them. That's just how that works. That's how business works. Forget about, all the different ins and outs of capitalism versus unrestrained capitalism and everything else. Is you figure out who your audience is, you figure out what they like, and then you sell it to them. Guys like, I'm sorry if this offends anybody, but guys like pretty women. That's just the way it is.
Tits. Not true. What? Oh,
guys like tits. Sorry.
So if you want to market to guys, a pretty woman is a good way to do that. And if people don't like that because I think that's the male gaze or buying into unfair, it has nothing to do with it. It has nothing to do with it. You were trying to sell something. That's not where you put a social message when you're trying to sell something. If guys like pretty women, then you use pretty women to sell them stuff. That's how that works. It's worked since the beginning of recorded history. So
that's 100% true, Gabe. I mean, it's working so well at Comics Elite, really, with any of the covers that we do, as well as anything that if Art Germ that has a sexy White Queen cover, that cover is going to sell like gangbusters. And there's a reason why it's a 1-in-100 ratio, because stores want that 1-in-100 sexy Art Germ cover because it is going to sell.
Oh, and the opposite is true. I mean, if you look at all the romance novels, trashy, pseudo porn, romance, Harlequin romance stuff, it's all, what is it? It's big buff guys with their shirt ripped off. It's the same thing. It's the same thing, but
I'm tired of them stealing my vibe. You know what I mean?
I'm with you. You and me both. But
find a new cover model. I can't take it.
But that's exactly the point. Is that works in all directions. You find out what your audience likes, and you sell it to them. Stop making moral judgments about. I mean, if you stop making moral judgments about, well, they're not. We can't show it to them because that's not fair to the people that were these fictional characters that are drawn on a cover. They're not real people. If you can use it to sell the comic, use it to sell the comic. I mean, don't go crazy. But Let Frank Cho draw a beautiful woman, please, and just sell.
Gallup
Being dumb.
says, so Kelly Sudakonic is feeding off her husband's success. Right, I have a picture now, but I wondered what would happen if their kid was a boy. My understanding is she and Matt Fraction have a boy and a girl, right?
I don't know.
I
No
believe
idea.
so.
I don't want to know any more about their personal life.
I believe they do. I
Same.
saw her on the red carpet for Captain Marvel the movie. I believe she's there with her son and her daughter.
Yeah,
We
but I
already
think I think it's very fair to say that of that husband-wife duo, Fraction is the one that has the most, I would say, fair, legitimate success.
Yeah.
Likely they both left to become screenwriters and then came back, and then sounds like Fraction is having some success now.
Yep.
Dave K, there's a lot to get into, RE politics of comics in the film, games, TV industry. I'd be happy to get into it deep with you guys another time, but it's a long discussion. Yeah, like I said, send me an email and we can have a conversation and perhaps do a video or something about that. And, I like getting into stuff like that. And I know the viewers appreciate it as well. He also said, Doc is right. The term is Doc has a point. We don't actually want to say Doc is right.
Nope, Doc is right.
Doc has a point. The comics industry runs on a loss leader business model. They lose money printing single issues, but make it back via licensing and merch. If comics suffer, so do TV, film, games, and toys.
Not exactly a loss, but it is. They do have to remain.
Image
profitable in
does.
Yeah, Image does. Oftentimes, they make it back up in their collected, their collected edition releases. Marvel and DC only rarely do that. Like Steve Orlando's Iceman. Or no. Wait, was it Steve Orlando? No, it was Cena Grace's Cena Grace's Iceman lost money in single issues and didn't become profitable until the trade was released because, it's essentially pure profit minus a tiny little bit of royalties and the cost of paper. They don't have to pay the creative team again.
I do believe they do lose money on quite a few comic books, but they make it up with the Batmans and Spider-Man, kind of like your flagship books.
I'm going to assume so, but there's no evidence one way or the other at the moment. I know in a lot of ways they're kind of torn between, they have to meet certain number of units moved, certain number of titles in order to get those units, but a certain profit margin and everything like that. So they play fast and loose with their sales. But regardless, for the most part, the comics industry is supposed to be, at least the comics division is supposed to be at least profitable. Might not be big profit, but at least a little bit. But their big money comes from their merch, their licensing, and all that stuff.
Federico De La Casa's stories. I repeat, I own all classic Valiant.
Ooh, nice.
You, sir, are a scholar and a gentleman.
Yep. And Valiant's coming back hopefully very soon with the Alien books. I think was it Alien?
Do you
books?
really believe that, Gabe?
They're unsolicited. They're supposed to have some stuff out in December. We'll see. Maybe.
We've been getting one Valiant. They've been releasing their comic books quarterly. They've been putting out 2 or 3 books a month.
In the beginning of the year, they went down to
one a month. Yeah,
they went down to one a month in the beginning of the year, and then over the summer they stopped all production completely. And that's shortly after that's when they came out with the announcement from, I think it's Alien Books is going to be their new distributor or new printer or something. And so supposedly they're getting back on the horn with their titles starting in December, starting with the continuation of the Clune Red Exo Man of War series.
Yeah, I was going to ask the same thing that Andrew asked in the chat. Aliens like Marvel's licensed aliens, or
no? It's a
Alien Books.
Alien Books
company. It's just a distributor.
Graphic novel company.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm
not bullish on the future of Valiant Comics, unfortunately, because I love Valiant Comics.
While they did solicit these, I think that they are doing so purely to gauge interest to decide whether or not they're actually going to move forward with the publishing.
Yeah.
Well, if you solicit something and then you don't actually do it, you have to pay a penalty.
To whom?
to Diamond, or whoever the
assuming
distributor is.
they distribute through Diamond. I don't know who
Penguin
Alien
Lunar.
Books is. I don't know who Alien Books is distributing through, or any of, or they could just say, "Hey, fuck you, we're not paying." What's Diamond going to do? They're one of like 5 now.
Probably
They're
the-
not a monopoly anymore. They don't have the power.
It's a contract.
Okay, they just say, "Fuck you, no. Take me to court.
Okay.
You're broke."
Listen, okay, buddy, you're going to the hypotheticals. I'm just saying, you in the past, there is a thing in there. We have to pay a penalty if you solicit something and don't actually deliver it. But if you want great classic Valiant stuff, you can go back to the Jim Shooter stuff, or you can go with when Dinesh Shamdasani acquired the company and then relaunched it after Acclaim with Warren Simmons as like the big editor.
I was going to say, I enjoyed Valiant under Dinesh. I know they did some things which turned people off the wrong way, but they were kind of trying to put a certain type of book out for every type of reader, right? You had all these different genres.
No one liked Faith, but everything else was great.
Everybody hated Faith, right? That's what I'm saying. But but I did like the universe under Dinesh, man. Finally got to meet him at New York Comic Con, actually.
I've heard he's a really cool guy.
He's super dope, man. Yeah, and he was on the most expensivest show with 2 Chainz. Shit was funny. He had a funny story behind the scenes. I don't think I want to talk about it on camera, but shit was funny. Sorry to tease.
Lade says, shout out to Fantastic Comics. Yule sent me Carnage #1 Del Auto variant and included for free the foil art germ variant from Batman and Robin #1. Wowzers.
Yule's awesome.
Absolutely. Yule is awesome. And that's the kind of customer service you can expect from Fantastic Comics and Yule Carter.
Hold real quick.
So something, DM him.
Because these are the aficionados, the readers. Are you guys sick of all the foils yet or what?
I read everything digitally because there's no comic shops in my town.
Oh, so you don't even see them really?
Doc, I don't quit reading the comic books. And then Gabe gets reader versions from all the companies.
The publishers, yeah, mostly. Yep.
So it's up to Drew. Are you done with the foil variants, Drew?
I think we're starting to see the overabundance now because the this Daredevil armor comic came out. They did foils for that. We couldn't do those to save our lives.
Well, that's a good thing because that book blew. It
was boring as hell. It was boring as hell. But the foils didn't help either. And I really feel like they're going to really pick the titles better if they're gonna have a foil for it. And that was not one of them.
And they were doing that thing where they weren't giving the stores a discount. Like the stores were buying it for the cover price for the foil covers, right?
Yeah, and we're severely eating that money right now. It's not good. It's just the amount of foils we still have. It's not good.
I think the foils, kind of lost their luster when the publisher started doing them themselves, and it wasn't just an exclusive anymore.
Yeah. I don't know. I think again, it's an issue of the publishers not moderating themselves. If you do 1 or 2 foils every quarter, not 3 a week.
Yeah, don't
2 a week.
It's got to be special. It's got to be special.
Yes, and you don't do it for every relaunch because otherwise you're going to literally have 10 a week. You do it for a milestone. You get the 50 issues, you get a foil. You do a reprint of a classic key book that the facsimile edition, you can get the foil version of that. You do those where there has to be some. It kind of reminds me of what DC did with Black Label, where it was all the best creators and Kelly Sue DeConnick. And they watered the fuck down the Black Label brand to the point where it was worthless. And the same way that they watered down Vertigo. Marvel and DC, they've watered down the gimmickry of foil. And they do it every single time. Every time they have a gimmick, they water it down. They do. They beat it into the ground. And the rate that they're beating it into the ground is accelerating.
Yeah, I mean, if they want to keep doing foils, their better bet is to pull back on the main stuff. Like, for example, Marvel, the forthcoming Ultimates lines under Hickman, those would be good foils because that a lot of people are going to pick them up. So that would be an opportunity to make that special.
Foils are cool, but let's bring back the holograms, man. If we're going to bring back 90s shit, let's bring back holograms. and Chromium while we're at it.
Yeah,
Special collector card in the bag.
I mean, but I mean, look, the foils they're going to be sitting on the shelves the same way the lenticulars ended
Remember
up.
that? Yeah.
For
Cool
both
first.
But they beat it into the ground. I mean, hell, Marvel did it in literally the first week that they did them. At least DC took a couple of months.
DC was special because it was like what was it during Villains Year or something, or
they did it
the
during
new 52.1 issues for the Villains stuff.
I think it was Future.
Year of the Villain was a couple of years ago. I think it was Month of the Villain or Villain Month.
Yeah, Villain Month, where it was like all the in the new 52, the 0.1, 0.2, 0.3 issues. But then Marvel did it with like
all the
homages.
Legacy.
Yeah.
DC did it during like Future's End or whatever that was.
That and before that.
End.
Yeah.
Even the Omnibus has a lenticular dust jacket, which is I think the only one that has one. Which I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty cool.
Dave K says the chat is trying to tell you that the Cassandra Cain Batgirl title from the early 2000s is must read. It's a great everyman story about what it means to be a hero, starring a character who earned her status through hard work. I like Cassie. Cassie is a good character. I like Orphan.
Yeah, but if you look for Cassie Cain in current DC Comics, every book she's in, it seems like a completely different character. Yeah, you can't even tell who she is anymore unless somebody calls her out by name. I mean,
so this Batgirl run, is it collected in anything? Is it a trade or a hardcover or anything?
I think in trades, but some of those are hard to find. I know Ali Garza did the art on some of those issues, but I don't think there is a big collection yet of that.
Gotcha.
All right, I will look for that here in a few moments. But thank you very much to everyone for supporting the channel. I really appreciate it, Dave, and definitely want to check that one out. And Cassandra's a really cool character. There are too many Robins, but I think she actually serves a purpose. Whereas everything else, there's so many redundancies, Gabe. But I think she's one that they should keep.
Yeah, I think it's not just because, for example, she didn't just like either she's related to the Bat family and they just picked her up and she's like, okay, I'm going to start being part of the Bat family now. She has an interesting backstory. She has kind of a power set, not exactly, but she's trained and honed to such a degree that she's different in kind of I would say, a better version of Damian Wayne in some aspects, as far as she's killed before. She knows what that's like. She's trained as a master assassin. She knows how to do all the things that you would expect from somebody who's with her upbringing, but also then taking on the background mantle at the same time gives her a bit of a unique twist. And I think there was even a comment, I forget what the exact quote was, but even Batman said that he was not as a formidable fighter as she was. So that's a big deal. And she earned that comment. It wasn't like, people refer to Riri Williams as the smartest person in the Marvel universe. She earned that comment. And I think people relate to that. Plus her costume without the mouth is kind of a unique look. And the fact that she doesn't speak is kind of unique as well. So she has a lot of positives going for her. But now again, if you look for, what was the last thing she showed up in? She was in the Birds of Prey with that Kelly Thompson's writing. And it's okay, but not great. And just the character's just not even recognizable from her roots anymore. That's the challenge.
So I'm not seeing an omnibus or anything like that.
I knew there wouldn't be an omnibus, but I wondered if there was like some obscure standard size hardcover. I guess the chat's saying there's a trade of it, but that's hard to find.
That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah,
I don't see like a hardcover.
If there was an omnibus, believe me, I would know about it. I keep up with that.
Yeah. So looks like something we should be getting into. Very good stuff. And thank you very much, like I said, everyone for supporting. There was one other interesting thing that happened last week I didn't want to get into. It was the Substack newsletter that Tom Brevoort, who's going to be taking over X-Men, is currently the guy with Avengers, kind of talking about, well, everyone's been proclaiming that comic books have been dying for 30 years. So, you don't really need to pay attention to it. I just feel like he missed a whole lot of things here. But the thing that did kind of annoy me was all these people are happy comics are dying kind of thing, Gabe, because I'm not happy about it. I'm being honest about it and kind of talking about what's going on and trying to provide some context to everything that's going on. But no one's happy that comic shops aren't thriving. No one's happy that periodic comics are kind of dead right now. There's not a lot of quality.
Now,
Well-
the reason why people are pissed is because they want to be able to go into the comic shop and buy cool shit and enjoy what they're reading. And the fact that people are the people who are gaslighting you guys. This was the Tom King Substack, right?
Well, no, it's
Tom Brevoort.
Tom Brevoort's Substack newsletter.
Okay, yeah,
and I'm
yeah.
also in a few Facebook groups that are like for editors, in which Tom participates in a couple of those, and so I've seen him make some comments and do some other things. Just right off the bat, I'm not a fan of the dismissive tone that Tom's responsives have kind of leaned into, and he's not the only one. There are several named editors and creators that I can think of especially over the last few weeks that are sort of just like, comics are always dying. You guys are just complaining to be complaining because that's all you do, and it's very dismissive. And a lot of this has stemmed from Phil Boyle's op-ed that he published on ICV2 or wherever else. He definitely leans into some assumptions and casts aspersions, but at the same time, he's making valid points of how and why it's difficult to be an LCS owner in the current climate. That's not something you should dismiss if you're a big publisher. That's something you probably at least want to reach out to him and let's say, hey, let's have a dialogue. Let's talk about some of these concerns, and we can talk about which is your responsibility, which is our responsibility, and how we can find a common ground to make adjustments to make things better. Because ultimately, for the big two in particular, when it comes to floppies, not trades, not digital floppies, the direct market is still their primary channel. So it's not fair to dismiss on that.
It is, because the alternative is admitting that they actually did anything wrong.
Right. There's no
And
accountability.
these people are incapable of admitting any degree of, I'm not even talking about like big fault. If it's down even a little bit, there's some fault from them, and they won't admit it. So he can't even afford to give an ounce of validity to the argument that there is a problem, because it would assign blame to the current comic industry or the past comic industry, in which case he was a part of both of them.
Right. So, but the point is about, are people happy the comic? Nobody's happy about that. Here's where, you actually have to use some critical thinking. People are not happy about comics. And when we say comics, let me be clear, Western periodical comics. There you go, Heidi McDonald. If you hear me say comics, I'm talking about Western periodical comics, not all comics.
Manga in.
You're not looping in manga or Scholastic. What they're happy about is they're happy about being validated. People are happy when they get enough validation or backing to understand that what they're seeing, what they're hearing, and what they're believing isn't wrong, isn't fake. It's not. People are happy that to at least get the sense or impression that they're not crazy, that they're not saying bad things, and they're happy that they're not, that they're acknowledging that some of it is gaslighting. And I'm using that as the actual word in the in its formal definition. That they're not just they're not crazy. They're not seeing something that isn't there. That there's something to actually back it up. That people are starting to agree, because there is no choice about it. You have to agree that the direct market is not in a stable place. It is not in a healthy relationship with the big two.
See,
and people are happy at least that they're being acknowledged and they're being heard.
I don't think that people are even happy about that. I think there's probably some, yeah. But I think for the most part,
you could say relief or something.
Yes, it wouldn't even be that. It's just they're just acknowledging, hey, I was right. Look, if I was right on this, maybe I'm right on the other things that I'm saying too. Yeah. It's not even it's vindication, not happiness. I don't think anybody feels joy in being right. I mean, fuck, I would absolutely love to have been wrong for the last 5, 6, 10 years.
Yeah.
Except for I'm not. And it sucks. The actual failure of the industry sucks. We at certain points, are we amused? Yes.
Yeah.
Are we amused that because the alternative is to just kind of get really sad? If the alternative to laughing about the fact that, look, we've been telling you this. I'm not fucking Nostradamus. It did not require any sort of black magic for me to figure this shit out. It didn't require me to be an absolute, fucking oracle of being able to read the tea leaves in the future. I'm not fucking Tinny Howard. Looking at tarot cards to tell the future. I just simply looked at what is the obvious, end result of the path that you're on. This isn't complicated. And
but it's the same. It's the same. But it's the same as the this whole situation that came up with the Marvels, right? That just
With
happened.
Stephen King. Why are you guys gloating?
Right.
We're not.
It's not. We're not happy that the Marvels failed. Nobody's happy that the Marvels failed. What they're happy about is, I told you, I warned you, I told you don't do this. I told you stop trying to make Captain Marvel work as a cinematic property. I told you not to put in characters that nobody has ever heard of unless you watch the Disney Plus shows, which very few of them ever did. Don't do that. You did it anyway, and now you got burnt. I told you so. That's where that feeling comes from. It's the I told you so. Stop doing bad things.
And
stop
it's not
doing
even
bad things.
It's really not even gloating. It's just it's like a parent.
It's like you said, it's vindication.
It's vindication, but it's also like a parent. Is a parent happy when they tell their kid repeatedly, don't stick your finger in the fucking light socket, and then they stick their finger in the light socket and they get burned?
Pissed.
No, they're mad that you didn't fucking listen.
Yeah.
We warned you. We used our experience. We used our knowledge and our understanding to very easily predict an obviously bad outcome. And we're not gloating. We're not happy that the kid, burned his finger. We're just merely vindicated, and we're hoping, crossing our fucking fingers that maybe they'll learn a lesson from this, that whenever they're warned about something and warned of an obvious negative outcome from it, they won't do it in the future.
Right.
That's what we're hoping for.
We're hoping that Marvel Studio says, holy shit, all right, we got to course correct over here. The audience is not digging what we're pushing out. Let's get back to the original phase 1 days. Let's make this true to the source material. Like, that's what we want. And then, boom, they're dropping us with the Fantastic Four, Female Silver Surfer, the Pedro Pascal. And then look at the normies' reaction on Twitter. Like, nobody is with it. Even people that like Pedro Pascal are like, come on, man. I love Pedro, but he's not Reed Richards, like.
Yeah, the other part of it too is, I mean, we're humans, right? So humans are social creatures. There's a certain, I would say, positive feeling around understanding that we're not alone. It's not just a group of the 3 or the 5 of us that are saying this. The results now show that it's hundreds of thousands of people are agreeing with us. So it's not just a single voice or just what do they keep saying? A very loud minority. Right? Yeah. A very loud word. We're not a loud minority. It's not. That's a silent
majority that decided.
It is now a very resounding majority that are saying, "Stop doing stupid things. Stop making these bad decisions."
And it's also us sitting there going, "How did you forget?" We finally thought whenever they came up with the MCU, with starting with Iron Man, building through Avengers, and then Avengers 2, and all the way through the first 3 whatever phases it was.
Yeah.
We thought that they had learned the right lesson.
Yeah.
Which was that television and film they are an amplifier for what was already successful. So if you take characters and stories and whatnot that was successful in comics in a certain medium, and then you redo them, but in a more mainstream acceptable, I guess that's the term, more mainstream interest medium, you will amplify your level of success. So if you had something like Secret Wars in the comics, or Civil War, or God Loves Man Kills, whatever it is that was successful in comics,
right? It's already tried and true.
Yes,
you don't have to write a whole new script for this.
You don't need to deviate from the characters. You don't need to reinvent the characters for the mainstream audience. They can still get behind a guy wearing the American flag that is a super soldier because of some weird, experiment during World War II, fighting a guy with a red skull face. They
Just
can get behind that.
Yeah.
As long as the story's well, the character rings the same way on screen as it did on the page, and then it will amplify the success. So, but they don't understand that you can't use that amplifier to make unsuccessful things from the comics now suddenly successful. It doesn't work like that. It will amplify your failure too. That's what happened with the Marvels.
I kind of blame Guardians of the Galaxy. It made them feel like they could take any property and make a blockbuster movie. Except
for Guardians of the Galaxy adhered a lot to the Abnett and Lanning era of Guardians of the Galaxy that was very, very, very successful in the comics. It was a middling title, but it had a lot of the people that loved it. The people that didn't like it didn't dislike it. They just didn't buy it because they weren't terribly interested in it.
Right.
But there was no bad, there was no negative commentary on that era of Guardians of the Galaxy. It was successful, and it amplified its success on screen. Whereas, Miss Marvel or Captain Marvel, it repeatedly fails, has actual detractors, which Guardians of the Galaxy, the Abnett and Lanning era didn't have. It didn't have detractors. It just had people that are like, oh, you know what? I've heard it's really good. I'm just not really into the space thing.
Right.
That was it.
I don't know these characters. I don't like these characters. But to your point, it amplified it to now those are all household names. I mean, who would have thought that those characters, Rocket Raccoon would be a household name? Exactly.
So it'll amplify successful things. It can't make unsuccessful things successful, though. It's not just adding to the baseline. If it was a product worth, say Captain America was worth $10 million before, putting it in TV and movies made it now worth $100 billion.
Well, Doc, look at the key issues. The first appearances are proof of that. Literally, how much, I don't want to say tripled. I don't even know how much they increased in value because of those movies.
Exactly. But you have not seen the same level of improvement in Miss Marvel or not Miss Marvel, Carol.
Captain Marvel.
You haven't seen that same level. They thought that, Captain America's was worth $10 million before. He's now worth $1 billion. They thought that they added $999 million worth of value to him. They didn't. They just multiplied it by 100. Doing that math is those two ways of doing the math is very different. You can't suddenly just add $999 million worth of value to, Miss Marvel or Carol Danvers. You just multiply her middling success by 100. It still makes it unsuccessful by comparison. You didn't add to the base. You just multiplied it. It's very different math. They don't understand it.
But it's pretty disappointing to see Tom Brevoort just kind of wave the white flag. We're like, we've been doing this for 30 years. Like, well, congratulations. You are at a company whose sales basically declined over a 30-year period while you were the only one that was constant that was there. So I thought that was an interesting one. We didn't get quite enough time on that, but I did enjoy talking about it. We do have Dave K says people have begged for a cast omnibus because a lot of important story for her is outside of her solo title and other Bat books. There's no one resource for writers to research and understand her. You would get that impression reading the comic books, Gabe.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much everything that she's done of note, especially in recent years, is tied to somebody else. I mean, you had that Batgirl's not a miniseries, an ongoing that ended from Clunerad.
Clunerad? Oh, it's
yeah,
awful.
the Clunerad. Yeah, so that was not great. That was
gabbing with fucking Stephanie Brown the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, and that's pretty much the kind of the modern incarnation of Cass Kane. So if you're looking for stuff that says, tell me about the origin of this character, what is she really about? What is she really about? You have to go back that many years, but a lot of that stuff is kind of tied into other titles, and you kind of have to piece it together. And so if I'm DC, I'm sitting there saying, well, how big of a demand is there for a the definitive Cassie Kane collection sort of thing? And that's not to say there aren't Cassie Kane fans. There certainly are, but I think they're probably just doing the ROI and then they're trying to figure it out, and maybe the numbers just don't work out. As a guess, I don't know if that how accurate those numbers are, but I think that's probably the big holdup there. But she's certainly an interesting character, and she's lasted, so it's not like there's nothing there. But it's just a question of how much momentum does she have behind her to strike out in her dedicated products that would do well for DC's bottom line.
Oh, and they keep saddling her with writers like Clunrad, and then maybe you'll get to see her in a Birds of Prey book or something.
Yeah.
And then she makes a sporadic appearance in Batman where the whole family shows up. She'll be in the back corner.
And you also have this stupid thing of brand confusion where, how many characters are you going to have running around named Batgirl? I mean, eventually, somebody please learn that lesson. You can only why are there so many Robins? Why are there so many Batgirls?
I was going to say,
not to say you can have
so.
Yeah, you can have multiple characters, but once they stop being Robin, call them something else. Give them a different call sign. Do something different. Stop having so many Flashes. Stop having so many Robins. Just give them a different name. It's not a crazy
Spider-Man.
idea.
Having so many Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It's not a crazy idea. Just give Miles a different name than Spider-Man.
How do we milk this character so much more? Let's just make another one of them.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then Nerd says, it's moments like these that validate my fandom of Doc and know that Doc has a point.
Yep. Doc is right.
The Doc has a point.
I'm not saying that never again, Doc. There might be a tier of the Patreon called that, but it's Doc has a point. He's going in the right direction.
I'm right.
Doc, do you have your own fandom now?
I do. I have had my own fandom forever.
Do you take a mail and shit?
No. I mean, people randomly email me sometimes, but is everybody okay?
Are you okay?
Did you fall?
I think Aaron jinxed me.
Oh, your boom mic fell.
Oh, that's too bad.
At least it doesn't sound like a Morse code. I'm just messing with Aaron. Give up on it, huh?
I think
Doc got attacked by a dog or something.
No. No, but I absolutely have a fan club or disciples apparently by the
Cult of Doc?
Yes, the Cult of Doc. And at some point, a couple of thousand years from now, somebody's going to do some weird,
they call them
voodoo.
Dockies.
Yeah, some weird fucking voodoo on the top of some skyscraper, and then I'm going to show up and sick the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man on them.
Very nice. Dave also says Cass was intentionally sabotaged by DC editorial. I linked an article about it in the chat. She was incredibly profitable and super popular. So I don't think you can actually link articles in the chat, I believe, on YouTube unless you're a moderator of the channel. There's a good chance that actually didn't make it in there. But I definitely would like to check it out because it's a character I would like to know more about. And I do appreciate all the extra emphasis on the character, and it's good to have your favorite character. I know, who is it? Common Sense is he's all about Connor Kent. He's like the biggest Connor Kent fan in the world. And it's good that we got the biggest Cassandra Kane fan in the world in the chat. Really appreciate that, man.
I'm sorry, Wes, that's incorrect. It's Connie Kent now.
Connie Kent. Okay, my bad. It's Bottle Rocket or whatever the fucking name is.
Hey, yeah. So if there's a link to an article about that, shoot it to one of us, like on Twitter or on somewhere else, and we'll try to get that out there for people that want to have more conversations about Cass Kane.
Yep.
Very nice. And then Carrie, Nerdy Girl Creates, Morning Aficionados. You just woke up? It's like noon in well, I guess it's 11 in Pittsburgh.
It's noon.
It's noon in Pittsburgh. What happened, Carrie? Happy post-Thanksgiving. Why does Tom King keep getting worse? Now he is ruining Wonder Woman. Well, I do hope that you had a wonderful Thanksgiving, Carrie, and you're having a great weekend. I think Tom King keeps getting worse because he's got no oversight. I don't think anyone tells him or tries to help him with the stories, and no one's been able to get through to him that telling the exact same story over and over again will only diminish your returns rather than doing something exciting to get people to recognize that you have some more chops than just being super depressed all the time. But there's no governor on Tom. I don't think there's no regulator. You can just kind of do the same stories over and over.
Yeah.
But at one point, he did seem like he was like an A-list writer because everything that he was doing was selling well over 60,000.
What was his big thing? Omega Men was the first one. Was that him?
Yeah,
I think it was
I think it was Mr. Miracle. I think was the one that got him on DC.
And
Vision
No, Vision
is the
was-
one that
Vision,
got
Vision,
him
sorry.
like the big
Vision.
plus. But he did Sheriff of Babylon. He did Omega Men. He came over to DC. He did Mr. Miracle, and then I guess he started Batman first, and people liked that, and obviously sold well. And then Mr. Miracle got all the buzz and the Eisners and all that stuff. So it's been an interesting ride for the man. Tommy reviews. People get mad if you post
Bounding
Bleeding
into
Cool.
comics.
Yeah,
bounding
I
into
saw
comics
that.
articles in the groups.
I saw someone on Twitter. If anybody's following Bounding, I'm going to unfollow you.
Well, I better start following them. That's the kind of people I like. They give you. I always take that stuff as a dare. Like, they'll tell me what I
Right.
can and can't do. You know what I mean?
Don't tell me what a good
People
time.
hate bounding into comics, huh?
That's what it seems like. Yeah.
Man, weird. It seem like nice guys to me. Strange thing. Now, before we can get into our comic book recommendations, we do have a big thing that's going on right now. There's a sale on Kickstarter right now, Drew. Unholy Nightmare, #1, fully funded, looking to do bigger and better things. The final 5 days of the Kickstarter campaign. Any final words on the project?
Yeah, a couple things. Yeah, one, we're doing a sale through Monday at midnight. You can choose any trade dress or virgin cover you want, and you get the set for $30, knocking off $10 through Monday night. And we just launched the surprise cover by Aurelio. It's Jenny the Werewolf. She's on Rooftop. She's got some blood on her claws. It's a pretty hot cover. And look, everything we've talked about with Tom King and all the, for lack of a better term, the crappy comics out right now. If you want a great palate cleanser to all this stuff, Unholy Nightmare is it. You want to read a quality comic with a quality story and art, Unholy Nightmare is the answer. And I do ask you to please check out the Kickstarter. And if I haven't sold you on it, please reach out to me. I'll see what I can do to get you in this comic.
He'll talk you into it one way or the other.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So let's check out this trailer before we head out of here and see what's going on here.
In the dark streets of Chicago, a mysterious masked hero fights against the forces of evil. He is the Recluse, and as a secret ally, a cop who goes undercover in the criminal underworld. Together, they face a deadly new threat, a drug that turns humans into monstrous creatures. As they try to stop the drug trade, they discover a hidden realm of horrors that will test their courage and loyalty. Will they survive?
The Unholy Nightmare.
From the creators of the hit comic book series Born of Blood, R. Elio Mazara and Dolan Wadding, comes a new action-packed adventure that will take you to the edge of your seat. Enter a world where superheroes and monsters collide, and nothing is what it seems. Don't miss Unholy Nightmare, the comic book event of the year.
Look, guys in the
Very
chat,
nice.
your minds are going to be blown when you read the story. Trust me. When you see the art, you find out that you discover the story, you're going to want to know more about what's going to happen. You're going to want to reread it until issue 2 comes out. Trust me. Now that Aaron Sparrow's on board, big things are going to happen now.
Absolutely. And you've only got a few days left. If you've been on the fence, now is the time to get in there. You also get the discount. And congratulations to Drew. I know it sounds like issue 2 is about ready to start pre-production, all that stuff. And I definitely congratulations on the success. And hopefully we get the full series. How many issues is it planned to go?
At least 6 right now, but I do have plans for a second arc as well. So for another 6, I do have at least 12 issues planned.
Very nice. And you and I are going to talk about the best comic books of the week later on tonight, and the video will be up. Do you have any final words?
Please check out Unholy Nightmare, guys. Reach out to me on Facebook, Instagram. If you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask. I'll gladly tell you about the story and what we got planned.
And there is a link in the video description for that one. And definitely all go out and support that stuff. We need to support good creators and good projects that are out there. I also want to say thank you very much to Jim Mint for joining us today. I know you love the comic books and it's definitely in your periphery, but you've also got a lot of other stuff that you dabble into. But it's fun to kind of sit down and talk about where all the nerd love came from to begin with. Do you have any comic books that you're recommending people read this week?
Man, read Alan Moore's Miracle Man. Everyone in this chat, I feel like they're already on board with that. But if you're a casual like me, read Alan Moore's Miracle Man. Top notch. It doesn't get enough love. I should have already known about this, and I didn't, which was crazy. I want to say thank you to everybody in the chat for the kind words. I'm not logged in, and I didn't want to try to do it while I was live. I didn't know what was going to happen. Give Wes access to my YouTube channel or something. But
appreciate it.
If you want another reason to support Drew and me, I have released my first podcast on my channel, Gem Mint Collectibles. It's called the Gemcast. It's an in-person live comic book discussion, highly produced and edited with different camera angles and everything, and keep it appealing for the eye. It's live right now. Go check it out. It's like an hour discussion. Drew is my first guest. I have many more planned, and it's just people talking about their love of comics and wherever the conversation may lead. So feel free to check that out if you're interested.
All right, Jim, I do have a question for you on the way out. Of all those arcade machines, which one is your favorite? Which one's the best?
Mortal Kombat. I don't
So
even
you're
need to
pulling
hear the rest
hearts
of the
out with Kato?
All day, man.
Kato?
Mortal Kombat 2 is my favorite Mortal Kombat game, and I probably game of all time. So I like the Mortal Kombat 30th anniversary because it's online. So you can actually play these arcade games with other people online. And if you want to catch these hands, feel free to add me on there if you have the arcade one up.
Very nice. And who's your favorite player to fight with?
I can't really. Well, first of all, if we're playing old school MK, I'm gonna hit random select on you. It don't matter who it is. But I always
know all the moves. You got all the specials.
I'll hit you with a friendships, babalities, all of that. But I was always driven to the or drawn to the ninjas. So Sub-Zero and Scorpion and Reptile, like those are like my favorites.
I'm with you, man. Scorpion was always my favorite. It wasn't even close.
Yeah, Sub-Zero wasn't close.
No, I'd rather pull somebody and do the get over here. And then
get over here, you got to
swap them through the sides and all that stuff.
Not to be too much into it, but that's what I always liked about both characters and what was different from Street Fighters. They both had moves that would like incapacitate you, whether you're hitting them with the spear or you're freezing them for the free hit. That was like a mind blower.
Freeze the ground and they slip towards you as you got to kick them in the head.
Exactly.
Yeah, but when I played X-Men, I always wanted to be Nightcrawler because I like bouncing around the screen and being unpredictable.
Yeah. That's a great cab too. All the Konami beat 'em ups I love.
Yeah, so definitely want to say thank you very much for joining us this Saturday. We've also got Gabe. You do Comical Opinions, which is focused on indie comic books, but you also do a lot of reviews on weird science for DC and Marvel. Are there any gems out there waiting to be discovered this week that you think people should read?
Well, this week was a bit of a soft week, which doesn't surprise me because it's the Thanksgiving holiday. So I'm assuming that the publishers are kind of holding back a little bit, waiting for next week to put some of the bigger stuff out. But of course, shameless plug. Follow Comical Opinions. We're putting more energy into our YouTube channel. So just at Comical Opinions and you'll find us also YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all the other sites. We're everywhere. So if you're looking for honest and fair reviews, follow us there. Also take a look at the Weird Science DC Comics, Weird Science Marvel Comics to follow along. As far as recommendations for this week, they're soft. They're not fantastic, didn't blow you away, but they're good. Going to recommend Conan the Barbarian #6 from Titan. It's started the new arc from Jim Zub, and so he was off to a good start. I'm going to recommend Universal Monsters Dracula #2. That's James Tynion the Fourth's comic adaptation of the original Dracula film from Universal Studios, and he's doing a great job. It's very creepy and atmospheric. I'm also going to do a soft recommend for Incredible Hulk #6 from Philip Kennedy Johnson. So he's still kind of stuck in that Monster of the Month type of model, but overall it's been pretty good. And then for DC, I'm going to recommend Jay Garrick the Flash #2 from Jeremy Adams. He's doing a solid job on that. He brings that family dynamic from the main Flash run into that miniseries, so that's pretty good. And also then I'm going to recommend World's Finest from Mark Waid and Dan Mora because they're kind of continuing I guess it's a a follow up to Kingdom Come, and they're doing a really bang up job of it. Lots of action, lots of interesting stuff going on. So those are the soft recommendations for the week.
Yeah, even like the bigger books, because there are some titles that have been really hot. A lot of it, they were like setup issues.
Yeah, a lot of
So
transitional
they weren't like
issues.
super over the top or anything, unfortunately. But
They were good, but
some good ones out there.
good, but not fantastic.
Man, I like this one. Nerd says it's so weird that DC leaves money on the table. A Mortal Kombat and Harry Potter comic would be such easy money. It's criminal since these are WB properties. Jim, would you like to see a Mortal Kombat like versus Harry Potter, like ripping hearts out of kids and fatalitying them left and right?
So there was a Mortal Kombat X comic book series, which they did single issue. Hold on, maybe it was web issues, but they did trade paperbacks for sure. So yeah, they definitely are leaving money on the table with that. And I do want to touch on this because somebody commented earlier on the stream that they liked the Injustice series and they kind of felt like, oh, they should have gave us Injustice 3 instead of Mortal Kombat. Reading between the lines on what co-creator Ed Boon was saying, it sounds like the plan was to do Injustice 3, but it sounds like DC was being difficult to work with during the pandemic. So I wouldn't blame NetherRealm. I would love to see not a Harry Potter versus Mortal Kombat game, and I'm not even a horror guy, but I would love to see the horror fighting game that we've seen teased in Mugen and AI and stuff, but like legacy horror characters fighting each other, because Mortal Kombat has had them as guest characters for the last few games. Freddy, who else do they have? Leatherface, Jason. Imagine if you had like Pennywise and like Ghostface and stuff. So I mean, I know it's a lot of licenses and properties, but that's what I would love to see out of a fighting game.
Very nice. And they are absolutely leaving a ton of money not having a Harry Potter comic book.
And first of all, let me get a collected edition of the OG 90s Mortal Kombat comics with co-creator John Tobias's art is like my childhood in art form. I would love to see that.
Very nice. Dave K. There's only one true Flash, and her name is Karen Taylor, Velocity from Cyberforce. By the way, did you know Mark Silvestri relaunching Witchblade next year? Witchblade. That'll look great. I'm a fan of the character.
I love me some Velocity. I love Cyberforce. I bought the Cyberforce Omnibus Volume 1 when it was on Kickstarter.
Is she the one true Flash?
Yes.
Oh, come on, over Jay and
as a speedster, it's the only speedster I've ever given a shit about. No, I really like the character. I'm torn on a Witchblade
for the covers alone, man.
Okay, is Mark doing the covers?
I don't know.
Because look, there was a time not that long ago where, in my opinion, almost all of the best artists were getting their start and moving on from Top Cow. That time is long since past, and now it's a bunch of 3D model drawers.
You're not wrong. Yeah,
and crappy, mediocre, never gonna make it artists.
Like that Aphrodite book from Brian Hill was a good story, but the art was not it.
No, it wasn't. And you know what? I think the last time you had a bunch of really good artists coming out of Top Cow. I think it was when Tyler Kirkham and a couple other creators were still over there. It's been a while.
I don't know, but J. Scott Campbell Witchblade cover with some really good cable toe, I'd buy it.
Yeah, but you'd be buying it for the cover, and we'd be in the exact same position.
Oh yeah, that's what's breaking comic books.
You'd be part of the problem.
Yes,
I am part of the problem. Speaking about part of the problem, Doc, you gave up new comic books, but you are going to recommend something today, I'm assuming.
I am. Hold on. Let's see.
Oh no, he's not ready. There it is.
Yes.
Oh my God, are we going to get a Doc face reveal?
Fuck no.
He does half face reveal.
I do like half face
for nerds.
Yeah, it's like side boob.
The neighbor from Home Improvement.
Yeah,
he did slip once. If you go back and listen to some of the older shows, he did slip once recently.
Yeah, but so we got this Michael Turner sketchbook that was limited to 1,500. It was from the Michael Turner Kickstarter the big prestige format thing from a couple of years ago, but you might be able to find some of these in the wild. Then
Doc, I'm loving your set, man. Jeez.
Yeah. Then since we were talking about Joe Casey being over on Fantastic Comics soon, I'm gonna pimp some Wildcats version 3.0. This is issue number 1. All 24 issues are fucking dope. The first 12 or 18 were done by Dustin Gwynn. I think the last couple were Duncan Rouleau. So more guys from Man of Action. But this fucking book is awesome. Especially, I love the cover designs for so many of these issues. Then we're gonna just go with something that you can find in a dollar bin.
Ooh, Toddy Mac.
Yep. Todd McFarlane did a shit ton of these issues, like 30 issues straight on Marvel Tales with original covers. So if you want some of that, Todd McFarlane Spider-Man love that beyond just the issues that he did of Adjectiveless and Amazing, check this out. Then, since Yul was here earlier, and I know how much he loves these slabs. So X-Men 19.
Mimic.
Yep, first appearance of Mimic. Mine's an 8.0, but I'm pretty sure you can find a nicer copy out there. It's a fun comic. I love Mimic as a character. I think he's one of my favorite non-X-Men characters.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll go. I already showed off the other one, but Uncanny X-Men 510. This is the J. Scott Campbell variant, since we're talking about JSC.
Mm-hmm.
This variant. I fucking love this book. It looks beautiful. They've done so many different reprints of this one. So yeah, go check it out. Go find a copy. These actually aren't stupid expensive, but they are more expensive than a lot of the other variants around this time because of the J. Scott Campbell fans. The J. Scott Campbell completists that always want to find everything that he does.
Someone should redo it and make it more realistic. No.
Oh yeah, that's what we need. We need one of those Twitter art people to come on.
Fix it.
Yeah, to do a J. Scott Campbell. I'm gonna fix it. Also, that's when Psylocke was still Psylocke and not fucking terrible.
Went on.
Yeah.
Do want to say thank you very much to everybody. Great recommendations, Drew. Awesome stuff. Final few days of the project. Congratulations on all your success. And happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I hope you had a wonderful time celebrating with your family. You ate your fill and you got all your best sides in there. And I did not get to eat the turkey, but we did get a rotisserie chicken and some pork belly.
There you
because
go.
my oven is ridiculously small. But we will get turkey eventually sometime. And I hope everyone has a great weekend. It's a big end of college football. So everyone should have a good game to watch.
Yep. Michigan, Ohio State.